And if I just show this video, I might get a copyright strike. So what I'm gonna do is I'm very carefully going to fade out the music. Okay, the music's gone. The damn ball joints did not want to come out. I mean, you can be glad for that while you're driving the car. That's kind of important that they don't fall out. But yeah, in the other end, you need my favorite automotive tool ever, the lowly pickle fork. This thing is the best tool because this is just basically converting hammer blows into separation force. It's a wonderful tool. Sometimes you need to widen it. I don't know how we managed to do that, but we somehow managed to open it a little bit. I don't know if they're like that. I thought they were more parallel, but yeah, these are crazy. Mr. Reply from my local library. Access to the British standards. Apparently they no longer subscribe. Can you pirate them? That's what I did. Those ISO standards in order to make the computer power supply. All right, we got to design. Oh, it's everything. I can see everything, even my glucose level, even my butt. Oh my God, it's my real butt. Okay, anyway, we need to design a part. I'm building a pick and place. What is a pick and place? Well, okay, there's one, most of it's sitting over there. Think about like a 3D printer, how it sort of hovers the nozzle over everything and moves it around. You can do that in order to build electronics. So if you have your electronics in bins, you can come over, grab a part and keep it parallel and then drop it down in the location that it's supposed to be. And then you transfer that circuit board to an oven where it'll all solder evenly and look completely professional. It's really, really good when you use that stuff. The pick and place also features a dispenser, and the dispenser would be for solder paste. This is just my tacky flux. I probably need to buy more flat tacky flux. You tacky fucks. Anyway, I need to buy more tacky fricks for my inventions. But anyway, you buy solder paste, and it's essentially the same stuff as tacky flux, but with little balls of solder in it. Using shop air, it can pressurize the end of the tube, and then it will put a little bit of vacuum for just a moment on the end of the tube to stop it from dribbling. And so you can use that in order to incredibly evenly dispense the flux with the pick and place machine. So we're going to need something that holds on to the syringe, and then we're going to need something that dispenses. Then we're going to need something that sucks from the end of one of these syringe tips and allows it to rotate and floats it parallel to the surface. So what you need is some kind of an arm, like a gantry arm, that will stay parallel. Now, if I just 3D printed the thing, it's subject to a little bit of flexure, right? I printed a bunch of these just for fun. I think what I'm going to do is cut them and drill them out and then mount them to 2020 rail. This stuff is extremely unbendable given the forces that we're using. So if we can get these two short pieces of it floating freely above the surface, and the way the pick and place that we're basically copying, this is my own idea for a pick and place machine. Not really. I'm copying somebody else's because I can't afford to spend $5,000 on what is essentially spare parts around my shop. We're using skateboard bearings. These are the bearings that you should use for everything, by the way. If you're building like a shifter for simulator games, use these. Please use the just normal bearings that we can find literally everywhere. These have a particular size to them, but they're for skateboard wheels, and so they're everywhere, and you can buy them in a variety of qualities. It's the 608, and this one's RS. I think it's double X because it's got a cover on each side. You can get them without covers, etc., etc. This is just like the most common bearing. This is actually the bearings that are the only moving parts in this fan, aside from the impeller, the propeller, fan blade, fan blade, that's the word I'll use. The fan blade and the rotor and those two skateboard bearings are the only moving parts in this fan. That's why I love these. This Air King has been doing daily duty for 8 years, I think, and it's still going strong. But what'll happen is eventually the grease will start to work out of the bearings, and this thing will start making squeaking noises. And at that point, what people typically do is they'll take WD-40 and they start spraying WD-40 in it. But the problem is WD-40 is a lighter machine oil. It's not even a machine oil. It's designed to dry up. It's designed to just displace water and then dry up. So it does the same exact thing with the grease. And so whatever little bits of grease you have left, your little temporary WD-40 solution is working it out of the bearings. And so your fan will fail harder if you do that. So you pull it apart, get a bearing puller, pull the bearings, put new bearings on, put a little grease with the bearings, and then this thing will do another 10 years. So that's why I love that thing. I also replaced all the screw hardware on that thing with nylock nuts. It's also gonna have a laser which burns subs onto some sort of board. No. Hey, what's up? That's my cousin, Disco Sundays. How you doing? How's Brisbane? It's Brisbane, not Brain. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do a full Bane impression. There's somebody working out in the garden, and so they can probably hear me chattering and yelling at all the furniture, which I kind of don't like because it makes me a little too. It makes me really self-conscious, so I don't end up using a theater voice when there's somebody there. It's cold there? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it goes in. It is like fresh swamp ass outside. We've reached the sort of, it's like the first day of summer, isn't it? But it's like, we've got this incredibly stifling humidity on top of just like normal summery temperatures, which is, I don't know what it is in Celsius, but right now it's in the 80s. So like, isn't that 23 or something like that? Hold on, 80F and C, 80F in C. The only thing I'll trust Google for, 26.6. Yeah, it's not fun. 60°F is cold for me now. 60, I'm wearing shorts. That's my actual ID. 55 to 60, actually 50 to 60, let's be honest, with the fat that I've put on, is like super comfortable for me. I will be out there just living it up like, this is the best. God. All right, so we're designing #AutoCAD ad, right? We're designing a part that's going to allow this thing to hover over the top of an XY. I've got these linear bearings that I ordered by accident, and so I'm turning that into a pick and place machine, which means we need something that floats over the surface. So the overall gantry is where you move your wrist, holding onto the little lever that holds onto this thing, and then this free floats over the work surface where you can position it and twist your part and lower it properly. So I've used one of these before at the FBI's like electronics center. It's a really good little system. It's very simple. It's totally manual, and it speeds up if you're doing like a production run of a circuit board. It speeds it up quite a bit. I would like to use it to build one of these Eurorack filters that I bought. And the Eurorack filter has a lot of very, very small parts on it. And so using this system, I think we'll be able to have a stream where we do the thing where we place all the parts down very quickly, if I organize my little bins, and get all the parts in quickly, and then we can put it on the hot plate and get that wonderful shot of everything flowing over and all the electronics like arranging themselves. What's up, Mahalo? How's it going? And I think, I don't know, probably won't go viral. Like, I see that clip on Reddit like every week where all the electronics go boop into position, like they do their little organize-y thing. And I'm like, man, I can do that. So anyway, why is this folder open? This is Burn the Subs. Why would I work on that? We do need to work on Burn the Subs, but I really want to get this filter done because Julian was texting me today and he's kind of champing at the bit to do music stuff. I just recently got the 505 working, and my modular synthesizer is all like reskinned and labeled. I need a couple more things with the modular synthesizer, namely filters, but the pick and place leads to filters. That's going to help me build the next filter. We can have a nice brainless day of actually building something. So where did I put this one? It probably should be an admin and then stream project. I tried to organize this and it just blew apart. I don't know. I can't seem to get these things properly. Yeah, there's like nothing in here. I need to start moving stuff around. Let's see. Huge nose is just a 3D scan of my face. Bug assault, QMK, Merc wheel, work desk. Okay, I put it somewhere weird. Split flap display. I guess I'm not doing that one. Pick place. Here we go. Okay, so it's just a bunch of basic parts. I haven't learned the new system with Fusion 360. Fusion 360. What's up, Mahalo? I already said what's up. I'm losing my mind. I'm very tired today. Fusion 360 wants us to use some kind of a system what makes us have components, and then the components go together in assemblies. So it wants me to have an assembly drawing and then somehow components attached to that reference back to it. I don't know how to do that. So what I've done is done hybrid projects. You can have a hybrid project where it's not so assembly focused. And so the first one is the test arm. I think I'm going to actually start a new one because that would be another component. Because right now, I don't know, do I need to reference this? I don't think I do. No, I think I do. I think we need a new sketch on origin for this. So we're following the timeline, and the timeline is going to include the extrusion steps. Really what Fusion in the end wants you to do is not have those extrusion steps in your big assembly drawing of everything. And I haven't been able to kind of reconcile how to do that. So for now, we're doing hybrids, and we're just going to get it done. That's the whole thing. Just get it done. Just get it done. So I need to actually bring into this design a piece of the frame rail, and I'm going to put that sort of probably center of this thing. Okay, or we could just zoom way out. That's cool too. I don't think I hit anything. It just decided to zoom way out. What the hell was that? That was weird. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna be operating in kind of an awkward space. We're gonna be below the grid. I guess that'll be okay. All right, so I'm gonna bring the rail into this folder. So we're gonna go to a different project, something that has 2020 rail, and I guess Burn the Subs had that, but I think I put the rails in a different place, didn't I? No, I think it was computer projects that had all the rails. By the way, we need to go, oh man, I'm just gibbering. I'm gibbering about all these things that I feel like I need to get done. Meanwhile, the whole shop is just covered in crap. It's everywhere. I need to go end to end and organize it. But every day I keep having to tilt my whole computer back and forward because of bubble forms in it. Because the cooling system, I just kind of grafted onto a bunch of 2020 rail, and bubbles pool in a particular area. So I need to get my computer on the bench and, clean it out. First of all, there's stuff in the loop that I don't like seeing. Clean all the crud out, and I probably do that with the sink in the other room. And then we need to turn everything 90 degrees and reattach it to this, I made a stand out of the 2020 rails. It's a whole thing. The computer is a mess. I decided to water cool literally everything I could on that computer, and it was a funny project, but now I'm dealing with the consequences that I knew I'd have to deal with, which is, that's always a thing. All right, so anyway, let's move a rail piece into this project, and I guess 2020 82 millimeter. That one's okay, but it's not the right color. What else do we have? See, I made a bunch of these little profiles that were at specific lengths. We're not using MakerBeam, although I'm tempted to use MakerBeam, because MakerBeam is going to flex under the light forces that I think we're putting into this. So let me just get how long are these? These are 100 millimeter? What's about 4 inches in millimeter? Doing a lot of conversions today. 4 in millimeter. I need to have something that pulls. Yeah, that is about 100. I need to have something that pulls my my captions, so we can have things that respond to what I'm saying. If I say something in inches or millimeter, I would love to have it pop up in the corner of the screen, how many millimeters that is. I'm like, that's like 100 feet, and it'll pop it up in the corner, the conversion, because I could do that. I could have things that actually look for in Node-RED. It'll look for particular phrases that I say, and then it can convert them to other stuff. I think that would be actually really funny to do. So that way, if I say Willow, a picture of Willow will pop up on the screen. I gotta figure that one out though, because you need to run a caption engine locally, which is a thing that people do. All right, so we're gonna copy that into our folder. Where is that? Admin? Pick place? There we go. I'm trying to keep this one simple. I'm trying not to go crazy with the 3D design on this one. All right, so back to our folder. And then I'm just gonna do this. Bonk, there it is. All right, so the thing about positioning these 3D models is that they are pretty accurate. And the problem with the accurate 3D model is that it has like chamfers on everything. So using the top left corner is impossible. Wait, what is this? What the? That's not there. That's not, what the hell is this rail? Okay, Control Z, get this thing out of here. Delete this, delete it. Get it out of here. Move to trash. Wait, move to trash. It's not being referenced, I can assure you that much. Ugh, are we stuck with this thing now? Not being used in any other design. Okay, so maybe if I save... I don't think save gets rid of your undo history. How do you get rid of your redo history? That means, wait, if I do something, do that, click OK. There, now it's no longer in the redo history. Now can I delete it? No. Oh wait, yes. Sweet, okay, there we go. That's the thing about using a program like this is that there's a lot of cyclical, well, not cyclical, but nearly cyclical references to parts and stuff, which is why I'm trying to sort of make a copy of the thing that I'm moving into the folder, and then I'll use it within that folder so I don't have to use their reference system to hunt down where this thing is used or not. Where are we? Rails? Rails. So this is actually not, I think maybe the 3D printer is what I should be looking for, because the profile that I want is a V-slot profile. Is this V-slot? No, it's not. Well, yes, a little bit. I think it's the typical 2020 profile. I'm trying to quickly design a thing, which is an ironic, it's sort of an impossibility. Yeah, so this is 2020 rail, and this is just whatever I could get from a company that's since moved to Las Vegas and then shut down. It was a really nice rail, like aluminum extrusion profile place in New Jersey that I ordered these from, but these aren't the specific V-slot rails. I think these are the 2020 rail that I got on somewhere else, because the nice stuff had sort of a matte profile, and this is a little bit glossy. Yeah, so I think this is just the regular 2020 V-slot rail. Or not V-slot? I don't know. Anyway, these are compatible with those little rollers, which I'm not using. What's up, Remy Cap? How you doing? So that's not what I put in this folder. I gotta clean out all this stuff. I think we need to go to the computer projects, like the game PC. Or do we go to, you know what? I think we go to the 3D printer projects. RC car, synthesizer, assets, which is something they made for me, which is why my real name is on that, which I don't like having that just right up there. 3D printer, there we go. And then rail parts. And I think this is the good stuff, the V-slot profile. Or was that close and not quite the right thing? How's it going, Lines and Squares? One of them I had was not quite the right thing. Is there, wait, what's in this already? Oh yeah, it's just bearings. You know, I think it's already in a different part of the pick and place. Let me just get my head straight here. This, I think, already has the right profile in it. Where did I even get it from? Let's just check. Oh, that's a 2x1, yeah. Did I make that 2x1? Yes, I did. That's why it's got the awkward... I think I combined two parts. Or no, maybe I didn't. Properties. No, that doesn't help me. That does not help me. This stuff is not, it's still not the right thing. It's got this weird, like, trough in there. So, okay, let's go find the right thing. I just have to do a little bit of this to make sure that we're using the right part. I think the printer, the 3D printer thing has the right rail. Like this V-slot profile. So I'm going to move that into the folder. copy, and then we go to admin, and then pick place, and we'll copy that in. All right, so let's get that into the pick and place thing, and then we'll use this one just because I can then reference this part along with the piece. Or do I just start a new one? No, we'll do this. So if you didn't know, a pick and place machine's job is just to support your wrist, to keep you from hovering over the part with shaky limbs, and then it very linearly, it kind of keeps parallel to the board and allows you to pick up and put down parts. In order to do that, we need sort of a floating arm, and so that's what we're kind of putting together here. This looks like it's closer to the right profile, but I don't know what this slot in the middle is. It might be off by a little bit. We're not going to rely on... Oh no, there is actually a little dupe right there in the middle. Okay, I guess I'll trust it as being the right thing, because we're going to make the plastic kind of go into this area right here, so that it is the end cap will be held on by a big bolt, but then we'll also have an index piece so it doesn't twist on whatever that bolt is. So bolt in from there, and then it'll have a little nub that goes into the rail. So I guess, how do I position this part? I could use the pieces of this thing in order to like index and center it and stuff, but what's that? I can tell the lead acid batteries are received from deep discharge are still at a very high capacity, so the deep discharge had almost no effect on the cells. Maybe it's because I'm just lucky in charging them. Are they? Yeah, I mean, if it's a deep cycle battery versus if it's a like a battery that could just tolerate deep cycle, it may have worn on the batteries, but it could also have not led to super lasting consequences with them. Yeah, I think you got lucky. I need to look at all of my little security batteries that I've got around here and make sure that they're in good shape. All right, so our first thing to do is to move it. Why don't I get to... Oh, that's timeline step. My brain is not functioning. Okay, V-slot profile, move copy. And then I'm going to start point to point, and we're going to start from the center of this thing. So I highlight it and click Control, and then look for that center line marker. Where's my center line marker? I don't get one. I guess I have to just hover over it. Yeah, there it is. That. And then this thing, yeah, we got a center right there. Boom. Although that doesn't necessarily need to be center to center, but I can also get the distance. So I'm going to click OK on that. And now it wants me to lock down the position. It's a thing that appears all the way over here. But I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to wait until I get it into position, and then I'll lock it down. Okay, let's get this out of here. Oh, geez, I need to... There's that. Actually, I don't really even need this to be anywhere, because if we're reusing that other part and I'm cutting it, then I don't really need this to be, what's that, a 5-stream streak. Hey, there you go, Gomania. Everybody step away from the keyboard and sip some coffee or Red Bull. I know, man, I'm like just not functioning today. I was up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I need to go to bed. And so I went to bed, and as soon as I was about to get into bed, my insulin pump started screaming at me because it was out of insulin. So I had to go all the way back downstairs, get an insulin pump, get the insulin, fill it up, put it on my body, get it to stab me, and then go back to bed. It was fairly disruptive. 6 1/4. So, oh, we're in a measuring step. I'm gonna move this. Yeah, okay, yeah, 6 1/4. Move copy, move copy, move copy. Where is that? Move. And then this one, and then down. -6.25. And I guess we'll just work from there. I mean, this position doesn't matter a ton because this thing is just positioned there. I mean, this is, I'm not gonna 3D print this part, although I'm tempted to, because I may want to put like a lip on the underside of this so that it'll properly capture the bearing. I think it already does capture the bearing. It's just, yeah, I guess with a bearing on either side, it should be okay. 3D printed bearing. I mean, you can. I've seen them before, and then they get the bearing balls from another thing. We're just gonna lock that position in. Although I don't like that distance. I think this should be a little closer to the rail. So actually, instead of, I'm gonna double click, because I clicked the little lock position tool. That means that on the timeline, we've told it that this is where the beginning position of the part's gonna be. I wanna go into this step, because if I move it again, it's gonna want me to lock it in place again, and then you get these kind of redundant steps on the timeline that can be confusing. So double click on that, and then everything in blue that's highlighted is something that moved in that step. So I'm gonna go here to this component, and I'm gonna move it again. Move copy, and then we're gonna bring it closer in here. I don't know how much closer in. I don't know how large I want this part to be. I guess I want the bearing to be fully outside, but then I want something like maybe 4 millimeters from the bearing. So I guess what I can do is I can just measure the distance between these, or I could do, I wish you could limit the point to point. If I could do point to point and then limit the distance, so I'm gonna hit cancel on that. Limit the distance, like get rid of the X and the Y axis, so you're only moving in Z. I think that would be very nice tool to have. And maybe it exists, I just don't know about it. What's that? Somebody did a thing. Madamew, thank you for subbing. Oh, we need to get YouTube chats up here. Sorry, Madamew. Let's find him. There we are. Good day, Captain. How's it going? All right, so now we have YouTube chat running. Sorry about that, Madamew. And Madamew subbed for 27 months. Hey, 27 months. That's a lot. I appreciate that very much. The veil comes for us all. I guess so. When is that gonna happen? All right, go there. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so in the measure tool, I can tell it to do, oh, that doesn't, huh. Yeah, this is not helpful. It's like, hey, do you want just the random corner? No, I want the distance between those, you klutz. All right, so from there to there. No, show the snap points. Don't show the snap. I want to do the XYZ. Ugh. All right, so maybe from you to you. I think it's because it's a circular that it really doesn't like. If I do from there, oh wait, I'm not in distance. Distance tool, and we're gonna go from here. Actually, if I start with the snap points, anyone who uses this technology is already frustrated with me. Yeah, it doesn't let me specify the different types. I guess I can go from plane to plane. If I get rid of the body, then I can just go from here to there. Yeah, see, then it gives me, well, that's, come on, man. Come on, man, to the center, really? To the center. Did I click the center? I don't think I clicked the center. Ay, ay, ay. 25, and then what's the overall? What's the radius here? $11. So 25 minus 11. Yeah, I want the corner of the circle. Okay, so for some reason, Windows search turned into French. 25 minus 11. So it's 14 that I need to move it. Let's try that. So go this way. What's that? Negative 14. And that should put them, if we do, yeah, okay. So that was 14 to get it right there. I'm gonna move it again. Move copy. And we're gonna go 4 millimeters this way because I did 4 millimeter sidewalls for everything. I'm just kind of keeping the same numbers. 36 emails from Green Owl. I feel like they want me to continue learning Dutch. That's, what is the thing, the app, Duo something or other? That's the Duolingo's, the owl. Okay, so I guess I'm not really gonna match this shape, but I am gonna keep that 4mm surround for the bearings. So I think maybe I wanna do like that plus 4mm. It's 4mm, right? Yeah, I think so. And then we'll have to tie it into this shape. So, okay, let's do a new sketch. And it's gonna be on this plane. And we're gonna reference basically all of this stuff. So I need to project, I need to hit the P key, which is stored in the balls. And then I need to go to, I guess I'll just start with that center, because I know this is 20mm, so I can go 10 in either direction. And then that'll be sort of the wall that I need to deal with. So we're gonna go with a non-construction line, go up 10 and down an unspecified amount of distance, because I'm going to make that, I'm going to constrain it to equals. So this is equal to that. And there, now we have our sidewall there that we can run off of. And then I need to project with the P key, again, stored in the balls, this and this one. And that's my bearing. And then I guess what I need to do is also get, well, so I can use a washer. You want to have like a little space between the thing that's turning with the bearing, right? And honestly, like I could put the bearings on the thing that we're making and then have the outside one be the one that's in this awkward shape. I'm just thinking about how it's sitting on the print bed. I want to have a completely flat surface on the print bed because that makes for better prints, right? So I'm thinking what we're going to have is something that's sort of a semicircle on the end, and then at, well, I have to, you know what? Let me show you what I'm thinking about. Let me show you what I'm thinking about, because I have this part, and it's for the inch standard rail. Where am I putting this? I have a problem with too many containers as things. I think it's right in here. Where'd it go? Huh? Yeah. Oh, there it is. The one's on the end here. So these are not in 2020 standard, but they are exactly what I'm looking for. Yoink. Back we go over to here. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to make. We can't, I mean, I can do 2 thingies on it, but I'll only do 1. And then that is going to be kind of a, that's going to be a tough thing for the printer to do, because I figure this would sit on the bed like that and then print up from there, instead of, because if I sit it like this, then I'm going to have a real weird surface here, unless I do a hole in this and then I use a bolt as the no twisty thing. That might be the way to go. Here, let me get a kit of bolts here. Not like I didn't just deal with all of my bolts. But if I can keep it flat on the print bed, then it'll look good and it'll be the right size. If I let these holes kind of print horizontally, they all turn into ovals. Because of the material that I print with, it is what it is. And then we can put a washer from the washer kit under that, and it'll act on the bearing instead of on the, like, scraping the material. Where's my multi-size kit? That's multi-size. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So one of the things that I try to stress is thinking about where the actual print bed is when you're designing a part. In this case, I had assumed that the print bed would be here, and so we were going to do like a little toe sticking out of the bottom. That would be the thing that keeps it from spinning on the bolt. Right? In this case, they were machining it, so they were able to just do a pass like boop, boop, and then that creates the two little pawls, the 2 little feet that kind of keep it from spinning. In the event of this thing printing on just the bed and having a little plastic stick out from the bottom, that, you know, potentially under like a heavy load that could maybe distort and allow it to spin a little bit. So It's not the end of the world. I think what we can do instead is I can make it a separate part. And the separate part will just simply be an M4 or an M3. Just a little metric bolt that'll go through there and keep it from spinning. But I need to make sure that, you know, it fits. Because that doesn't. That does not. No, it does not. And the size below it is significantly smaller, which allows for wiggling. So that's not it. That ain't the answer. That is the mid-size, right? Yeah, it is. I was checking to see that these are the right thing. I mean, I could always sand down the edges on one of these, but I don't know if I want to rely on that. Or I could have the bolt like that, offset a little bit, which would just put the whole little, because we're printing it this way, we're printing it up this way. I guess that could be okay. I can do one on each end too. Okay, so let's plan for that. We're going to do one on each end, and they're going to sit flush with the V-slot, and that'll hold it in place. It's going to be a weird part. I mean, there's going to be little sticky outy pieces on the sides here. Will that, actually that won't allow for the bolt to be, because if I keep it there, but then it's going to be as round as this is. So if that's 4 millimeters away, that's going to be like that. Do I have a bolt sticking out of either end? I guess so. What a weird part we're making. This is going to be very strange. I don't think I like that. I think I like it being the same size. Let me think. Well, if I use the smaller bolts, we can have those. But if even still, if there's two of these and they're close together here, if they're like in like that, and there's two of them, it's still not going to do the job of stabilizing it, because this will be able to go doot, 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 while the other one goes doot, 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 doot. Think, huh? Well, I could just have it print, because that would be the best way for it to print. And that way we would have kind of an oval hole that our hardware from above and below will bolt into. That'll, you know, if the hole's shaped like that, it'll grip the screw a little better, so we'll have tighter holes on that, and that'll hold this down against the washer. So we'll have a washer up here, and then another washer down here, and that way this whole thing is basically suspended on the center piece of the bearing. So that'll hold on to that and allow it to use the bearing to move back and forth, but it also clearances that whole business. It'll probably be able to swing pretty far. So right now, I think what I need to do, first let's just do the piece that's going to come out and around and go around the whole perimeter of this thing. It doesn't need to be the whole size, but I guess just for visual sake, I'll do that. Actually, to be fair, if we go out here and I just copy this shape, then we'll have this little area here that we can put the big bolt through. So maybe we just do that. Let's just hit a non-construction line, and let's project in the outer radius of this thing. Oh, we have to do it individual pieces. All right, well, I'll take the whole thing. Just give me all. Give me that. That's mine. Bam. Okay, we got that, and then we just do a line that just goes do 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 bonk. We do another one. Do 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 do. Bonk. Okay, and then that does it for that extrusion. That's going to be everything that we need from this. Except that, are we going to have something that sticks through there? I think what I need to make is like a little spacer that's going to stick through the thing. I mean, ideally, I'd be able to make something that looks like this, because this is just everything that I need. It's got the thing for the bearing to sit on, and then I put the bolt through there, and it sits flush like that. But I can't print one of these facing up and down and get the right quality out of it. So if we do a hole from the side, then the whole thing's going to print like this. That overhang is going to be a bit of a problem. I can maybe just make that. That's going to look so weird. Sorry, I need to debate with myself on how to get the shape that I want out of this thing. Maybe not that. Just Control Z all of this. You can Control Z in this because the sketch doesn't have a timeline. Oh, I wasn't clicked into the program. Okay, so instead what I'm gonna do is project this thing, and that'll give me a center for a circle that goes out to there. And maybe we take this straight in like that, and then I'll smooth it out. But that's not gonna print cleanly from the bed. Yeah, we're gonna have to work with the other radius, huh? So if I take a circle that intersects, I'll do a construction line just straight out this way. And then I'll take a circle and intersect with this, make sure I'm hitting the right thing. Just like that. And then that's going to be our outer radius. So make these in normal lines, not construction lines. What our goal here is to make a sealed in solid line object that will define what we're extruding, which is why I kind of like to stress that you want to think about where your print bed is located in this item. And so for us, our print bed hopefully would be this, it would be vertical on that end piece, but I don't know. I mean, we're still interfacing with the inside of this thing, so I think we're still good on that front. If I put the print bed as being, well, I guess I could still do that. But like, okay, so like this, we don't have space here for a bolt. So I could maybe make an extrusion, like I could make like a protrusion that would give us that extra little bit of material that we would need to put a bolt through. Because what I'm thinking of is that if we have a bolt that's big enough to go into the V slot and touch the metal, then that will hold our thing from spinning. And we'll still have a completely flat bottom surface so that this will be the print bed surface. This bolt hole can be nice and complicated. This one can be nice and simple. We just put 2 washers on either end, and that gives us the pressure against our inner ring. And then the outer ring is larger than the actual thing that we're making, but it's far enough out that we're a little bit beyond where the this thing is held. Although I can move that because this will just be 2 holes in the center of this thing. I'll just do 2 holes on that and we'll cut that. Although I am tempted to redesign something that actually has the proper cutoff and then print it, but I've already got like 20 of these arms. I printed too many of them. Our test was a little bit too much. So I figure I probably want to preserve them and we'll just drill them. The not having the lip back here makes this kind of a little awkward, but this is at least strong in the axis that we want it to be. And if I get it close enough, having metal under it, it won't flex as much or at all. Hopefully at all. So yeah, let's go ahead with that. So I guess I do want another thing out here, but before I do that, I'm gonna have to define a couple things. So let's finish that sketch. Oh, it's gonna be cyclical references on the sketches if I do that though, unless I make my protrusions their own sketch, because the next thing I wanna do is sketch on this face. We'll have to figure that one out. Okay, so first of all, let's just take a look at what horrors we've rendered into this existence, this terrible, terrible existence that we all share. Let me unview the body so that we don't accidentally stitch it together. That's one of the big tricks that I don't know, maybe they don't teach you this. If the body's visible, Fusion's going to assume that you want to meld all of your bodies together. So you unview them, not all of them, wait, you can go into the body menu and unview that, and now it'll just know that we're creating our own solid out of whatever. So this, and this. And that's, I think, everybody. The whole gang is here. I want to have a small inner piece here. So, well, we got to go back into the sketch. When you double click back into the sketch, it's going to go into the sketch at that point in the timeline. So anything beyond that sketch that you've extruded or moved or positioned or created or brought into the drawing, all of that goes away. All of it reverts to where it was when you created that sketch. That's how the timeline works. So if I double click into the sketch, it brings me into the sketch editor, and you guys can't see it, but there's on the top bar, there's that little green checkbox. You got to look for these little green checkboxes. Especially, by the way, almost an engineer, if you're going to be doing Fusion 360 and trying to learn their sort of like whatever it is, the new system with assemblies, really pay attention to those green check marks, because when you go in to edit something in place, you have to finish that edit in place step. And I've found if you're making 3D printable bodies, you have to hit save, because those components, it will put into your folder of stuff. It'll put it into your stuff when you've saved. So like a new file will appear here. That's the component that you just extruded. I had a problem where I was making something that was so simple that I went into the edit in place and I extruded all my stuff based on positions of everything. And then I didn't hit save, and I tried to export the bodies and it wasn't able to do anything. And I was like, what is this? You have to click save. It's crazy. I found the green checkbox eventually. Yeah, you're going to eventually have to learn it. Otherwise, things get terrible. So what size bolts am I using? I guess I'm going to stick with the ones that I was using. Yeah, which is M4. It might be M5. Hold on. Oh, he's got to have the calipers at the ready. I'm surprised with where I store these that I haven't accidentally scratched my monitor with them. So we need 4 millimeter thread hole. So actually it's going to be probably like 3.8. What do we use for the other one? Actually, that's still in the drawing. I forgot. Just finish you real quick. And then bring back in the body. And just go over here. So yeah, that's 4 millimeter. Okay. So I made that exactly 4. I'm gonna use my 0.2 rule, because with 0.2s at this scale, if you go to like a much larger scale or a much smaller scale, your wiggle numbers are going to change a little bit. But at my M3, M4, M5, M2.5, it's 0.2. 0.2 above, 0.2 below. This is 4 millimeter threads. So at 4 millimeters, it is a tight press fit that you can overcome with a little bit of force. And if it's this length, that's going to hold really well, but I want it to hold even better. So I'm going to keep the hole through the whole thing. I probably won't use the whole thing, but we're going to go 0.2 below. So 3.8 will make it so that I'm kind of stressing out on the hex. With a 0.2 millimeter fit on the M2.5s, that gets to the point where you're like about to strip the Phillips head. It's like the limit of what I would do. If I go smaller than M2.5, I am going to use 0.1 above and below to do my fits. If this were 0.2 above, this would just fall in, but it would be a tight fit. So in this case, if you're fastening something that's not going to take a lot of force, maybe you want a little bit more than a press fit on an M4. Yeah, I think that's M4. So yeah, we're going to keep this at M4. Of course it's M4, bother. This is you just measured it was 4 millimeters. Jeez. I always forget, Disco Sun, have you seen the Australian World Cup chants? I think the Americans kind of want to join in on the chants. We're like, look, we're there too. We're there too. We feel it. All right. So we're going to do a 3.8 millimeter hole. All that to figure out how big my hole is. Seems like I could have just asked an X. All right, that's a dumb joke. 3.8. So that's our big old interference fit. And then we're not going to have that extrude outside of the part because it would look weird. No, because my printer struggles with that kind of thing. In the year of our Lord 2026, should my printer struggle with that sort of thing? No, but it does, because I print in PETG, and every time there's a problem with the printer, I turn the temperature up. We're going this way, and we're going 20 millimeters this way. Oops, forgot that one. And this awkward one right here. And we are going -20. Okay, do I need to pretty this up with chamfers and stuff? No. Did it join the other body? Yes. See how we have one body after all that I just said? It somehow thinks that this awkward POS is what my end goal was, but it's not. And no, that's not what I did not mean to build that. That's not what I meant to build. So I need to go back to the extrusion step, and then in the little pop-up, I can do new body. There we go. And if I was lazy, I could just print this thing. So this one is called, I don't know, end thing. So that's our end thing. Although we don't have some of the other facets, we don't have our horizontal holes yet. So let's create our horizontal holes. I'm going to do that directly off of this face. So I'm going to create a sketch right here. Right click, create sketch. And so now here is our horizontal hole sketch. And we can also make this our horizontal body sketch. So into this sketch, I am going to project all of my insecurities, also this circle. And we'll also project this guy and this guy. And then I am going to create a construction line from the center straight up. And this is going to be my mirror. So I'll have one line to interface with that will mirror my objects back and forth. And then actually what we're going to do is from here, I'm going to go in, because actually this is a, what size is this? This is probably 4mm, right? I think that's, an M4 is a slip fit. So do we need an M5 on that? Hold on, wait, let me get an M4. M4, yeah, that's a slip fit. Is that supposed to be a slip fit? Hold on, I'll measure this. Measure this guy. 4.2. Well, that's not convenient for the size hardware that we wanted to use. Well, M5, I think you can thread M5. Yeah, so that's going to be an M5. Definitely. Okay, so that's M5. So we're going to do 4 point... Well, we want it to be a slit fit, so that's going to be 5.2. 5.2. That's going to be the size of our hole there. What is the size of the head cap on a 5mm? Oh, it's 5. The cap is, drumroll, 8.7. So with an 8.7mm cap, I'm just going to make a 9mm bullet. I could put pepperoni on the pizza. I could sprinkle it with 9mm bullet. That is a big cap. Okay, so that's the cap of the screw. All right, good. I guess the bolts on the top and the bottom are going to protrude downwards. So although we do have a hole through the entire object, this feature can be further outside, and I can use a long M5 to get to it. It'll just basically be, you know, the longer M5s, which I got them right here. They're in this bin. They were. Okay, I don't have them. I don't know where they are. I definitely can find them though. This bolt kit has been through too many winters. Okay, so with that, we're putting M4s on either end. Although I'd love to keep it M5 and keep all the hardware the same size. I think the M4s do a better job of kind of sinking into that location. So I'm gonna need a center line. This is gonna be weird. We're gonna get a little weird with it, chat. So I'm gonna take the center and just make a reference line here. And then I'm gonna take a 3.8 circle, not construction. 3, not 8. If I put a comma in there, do you think Fusion would understand what I'm doing? Oh, but that's not the size of the bolt head. That's not the size of the, well, we can still make our entire feature. Whenever I'm running low on metric stainless steel hardware, I order exclusively from Screw Home. Fuck you, Mom. I'm ordering from Screw Home. This place is a prison. So that's about 7mm. I've got like 7 to 7.15. We're gonna assume 7mm. We're gonna assume a perfectly spherical cow with uniform mass. So we'll make a 7mm on top of this. That would be a construction line. Although we may actually make that bolt head our protrusion from our main solid. So I want to move this so that that intersects there. And that, oh, that's convenient. So how do I get that intersection? Constraints. Usually you'd use constraints to do all this stuff. If this is tangential, so this, like, is that doesn't, no, that's not at all. That doesn't get that. This place is a prison. So I'm just going to Control Z my way out of this. There we go. We're back over here. So coincident, concentric, no. Collinear? What does collinear mean? I need to read what all these things mean. Try coincident. I think that did it. I think that did it. So assuming a perfectly spherical cow, that should be our hole, our cow hole. It's just a coincidence. Oh no, the coincidence. Oh, funny, that happened to work. I didn't even know I was making that joke. I wasn't making that joke. I'm just so oblivious that sometimes these things sound like I'm joking, and I'm not. I'm being completely serious, and everybody goes, wow, that was a really clever joke. And I'm like, what? I have good news. My application, this is Lawn Dog, my application to join the Bork has been approved. This is day 4 of being part of the collective. Oh, my sensor and its information seems to be working well. Wait, what does the Bork mean? What is that? Is that like the system that I the other day, listen, you guys need to know how like out of it I've been. I gotta really concentrate on getting more sleep. Of the Borg. Okay, the Borg. Okay, you are now a cyborg. Congratulations. And it's a weird thing to say after growing up with Star Trek. I see now. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, and I'm dumb. I am so oblivious that my doctor was looking at my records and he says, "Oh, you're using Night Scout," and I'm like, "What's Night Scout?" And it's literally the system that's been logging all of my glucose records for my doctor, like something that I specifically set up, and I'm completely oblivious of it. It's an affliction. I took my driver's test, and the instructor almost failed me for being oblivious of the instructions that he was giving me. He said, "Turn here," and I go, do. Oh, here, and like, so it's an affliction being such a ditz sometimes, you guys. You've been waiting for 2 years, dude. The CGM is, I think, more important by a long shot actually than the insulin pump. The insulin pump has been a modern godsend for diabetics, but the type of treatment that you get when you know exactly how you respond to food is extremely important. I think it's even, I would stress it more than the insulin pump. I think it's a much more vital technology to the care and management of our condition, diabetes. Okay, so that's all set, and now I'm going to mirror them in the sketch. I could mirror the solid body in Fusion itself. Like I can make the extrusion, and then I can choose to mirror it, but then it doesn't know if you're working with like surfaces and stuff. So it's actually better if I just take these two elements and I just go up here to the mirror tool, which is just your little split triangle, and click on that wall that I made earlier that I said was going to be the mirror. Remember that? Remember that? Remember me saying that? Remember that I said that? I said the thing, and now I'm actually doing it. Finish the sketch. No, I didn't do the thing that I wanted to do. Where's my overlay? Brain, what are you doing? Brain, what's going on? Oh no, this one won't turn off. Hold on, I need to go into studio mode. It won't turn off. It won't turn off. Hold on. Where's overlays? Overlays. Where's my frameless overlay? So I made the buttons turn it on, and I didn't make them turn it off. There we go. That's the problem with Stream Deck. I didn't. They're not toggles. They're not toggles. Okay, there we go. Now I can get out of this. Hold on, I gotta fix that before that becomes a problem. Before I get a copyright strike from that. Actually, I don't think YouTube could hear, but it was a RuPaul song playing over that. The Obamas is what it's called. Guess who's back in the house? Heels click clacking about. Good song. All right, we go to overlay, my comedy overlay, pumpkin sound. It should be called pumpkin sound. And then see that did visibility, and I didn't fix the other visibility. So now we need to go here, and I need to actually go to frameless overlay. I reorganized all these scenes, and so they don't know what to reference. Pumpkin man, and then this one I need to go to pumpkin, frameless overlay, and then this one's the sound. There we go. Okay, so now it's fixed. Stupid multi-action screwing me over. Okay, that's good. There we go. Stupid. What up, Cyberdunk? Okay, so there's that, and I forgot to click OK on my mirror. So again, thing I want to mirror, mirror tool. Then the mirror line is not on the window, it's not selected. So select that, and then the mirror line's this right here, bonk, and then click OK. That's an important step. An important step towards our ultimate authoring of this part is to actually click OK on the things that you want to alter. Okay, so extrude this, and here's the trick. If I had that active, this would join this part. These two would join together. So what I want to do is make sure that I don't view the part that I want to join. The components are okay. Those are kind of like fixed designs. Those won't like get welded to my part. I'm realizing now there's no room for a washer there, but actually that's okay, because adding that extra, well, no, because then it's going to bend. So actually we do need to clearance downwards a little bit on this. We need to make this a slightly more narrow part. We'll do that in just a sec. We're going to do that as a separate step then. So I'm extruding this, and I'm going to go what, like, let's go a negative 11 millimeter. And then I want to close it off. So I'm going to extrude. Actually, what I should have done, and I can just double click on the extrude step, is take the inside as well. And that'll go negative 11, and then we're going to extrude our holes negative 10. And if I want to fancy it up, I can fancy it up. I can do whatever I want. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to round out the side of that, because I don't think it's not really going to matter that much. Clearance. Always with that joke, huh? Always with the airplane. Why are you like this? Let me get my washers and see how thick that washer is going to be. Actually, here's a washer. I don't think it's going to be the same thing. Well, it is the washer that I use on the other side, so I might as well use it on this side. But it could be anywhere in between, just as long as it doesn't contact that outer piece. It's a good-ass movie. It is. It is indeed. I think keeping it uncomplicated and using the same washers throughout is probably a good idea. I'm already using various sizes of metric hardware. If I use multiple sizes of washer, I'm going to be tearing my hair out in order to build this thing. This is unopened. This is completely unopened. I found the rarest thing in the shop, which is an unopened washer pack. Incredible. Incredible day. Man, that's so cool. Lawn Dog's getting a CGM. I'm always happy to hear that. Always happy to hear that, because it's such a, I mean, management-wise, in terms of diabetes management, that's a huge step. Huge. E-U-U-U-U-G. Huge. That's going to be an M4, not an M5, because I made it for an M4 for some reason. Don't know what the reason is. Maybe I should have made it an M5. It's a larger bolt. It's got a larger bolt head. Possibly even it would even grip this thing without a washer. Curious. Curious. Well, I still want to use one. Still want to use one. Use an M4. Yeah, let's the M5 in one location. The other ones can be M4. It's just this kit of bolts is so picked over that there's like nothing left. Where's the one that I was using before? Somewhere around here. I've lost it. I've lost my marbles. Yeah, and then I can use like a spacer like this just to go in there. That's a little short, but it should be. Reasonably sized M4. So it probably shouldn't be this kind because that's all weird. Still good information. What's that? Learning to use it. I got it mainly because of the emergency reasons, especially at night. That's also a very big deal. Pain in the ass because it goes off and it takes time to clear the alarms. Yeah, and you have to do that while you're still in twilight, like not knowing what the hell's going on. I've encountered that, and the other night I actually yelled at the Amazon lady, the thing that does the security cameras, the she who shall not be named, and I was yelling at it to turn off the alarm, and it was like, I don't have an alarm. I don't have an alarm. I don't have an alarm. What are you doing? It was a little awkward because it's something that my phone does. The phone is what has the alarm on it. So I guess that little washer will do, but we should probably leave. I mean, it should really kind of like squish it down onto a thicker washer. They have spacers that are specifically made for bearings, but in this case, we're, no new hardware. I just ordered two $9 three-phase motors for this stupid siren. I'm not ordering more parts. So let's just measure this one, and that'll be our ballpark number for the size of the washer. So 1 1/4 millimeter, I think, is a decent number. I'll take that directly. Usually I'd kind of round that. That would be maybe 1 1/2, but I think 1.2 should be approximately the thickness of the washer. Do they tell me? No, they don't have that. All right, so we'll extrude this part. Oop, okay, hold on. Get that out of the way. Get the sketch out of here too. So the sketch is gonna like want me to click on all of the different pieces of it, but what I can do is just unview my sketches and then hit extrude, and now I can click that whole body. -1.2. And then we're gonna cut this one. 1.2. Oops. Guess we're also going negative. I guess it's negative to the face, so there we go. And so we've narrowed it down just a little bit. So now our piece that's going to ride directly on the top of this thing has space. And then we need the third sketch again. Sketch again. I made it smaller. I needed to make it larger. So let's go back into that sketch. So again, it's going to reverse all of the other steps that we've done before it to bring us back to that sketch. So now there's no bodies, there's none of that other stuff that we made. So we're gonna take this, and this is actually gonna be, oh no, wait a minute, that is supposed to be a slip fit. Yeah, okay, I got that right. Finish that sketch. No, I got it right. So get rid of this body. We've all been there. And then extrude the outer radius through the whole thing. Make sure nobody else is visible. Bada bing. And that's where our 5 millimeter bolt is going to go through. And then there's a little cut for that vertical hole. And so now we need to figure out where our bolt head is going to sit. And I kind of think it should go all the way down there, but that's going to make this big radius where we don't have anything to grip the screws that go horizontally. But maybe that's okay. So if I take the outer one, the bolt head, and I offset that by, so instead of the extent type being distance, I'm going to say start is going to be offset. And then the longest ones of these, well actually, how much thread do I want to have through this thing? M5 by 20 millimeter is the largest one of this kit that I don't actually have. So what, hey, what's up, Clarence? So what happened, let's just see, a 10 millimeter offset, negative 10 millimeter offset from the face. And then I want this to go from there this way and just core out the whole thing. So if I have a 10 millimeter bolt, then I'll have 5 millimeters holding on to it. Does it need that many threads? No. And if we're cutting this anyway at this distance, maybe we make it -5. That way I can use more hardware from that kit. And that's going to hold it pretty strongly on there. So how much thread do I have for these two? Maybe that's enough to get a good grip on it. I think so. Well, let's hope so. We're going to print this thing out today. Those don't necessarily need... I could probably project the hole all the way through this thing. Yeah, you know what? I kind of want to do that. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Get rid of the sketch. And then I'm going to chamfer this one and this one. Let's see what that looks like. Where did my arrow go? There it is. .5, I think. Nope, 3.4. I guess we'll just keep 3.4 and just keep that like that. I don't know, it's just for the looks. I don't light it. And then this, we're going to continue that extrusion. I'll just make it a new step. Because that'll print a little cleaner. I don't have any like overhangs on that. And then this will end up, these holes will end up being ovals. So they'll hopefully grip pretty well. And we've got a pretty decent distance for the threads. So hopefully that'll hold on strong enough. Okay, and I think that's it. I think that's our entire part. So I want to take this into the 3D printer. The question is, are my settings okay? let me check over here with my slicer, super slicer right here. Hopefully it's still connected to the printer. Oh, right, failed loading preset file. That's why I didn't trust this. Basically, I'm gonna drag and drop the design onto the 3D printer. So I'm gonna put this in my project section. My other computer is the one that's all primed for printing, and I wanna get this done quickly. So I'm just gonna throw this part into my stream project, and then I'll put it on the slicer on the other computer. So let's just quickly go to our end thing body and save as mesh. And then I don't touch any of the settings on save as mesh. Just going to export as a 3 MFs in a trench coat. What up, Haystack? How you doing? 3 MFs in a trench coat. I don't alter any of the other settings. And that goes to a temp prints folder on the desktop. And then I'm going to find that folder, and I'm doing the simplest thing, just drag and drop stuff. This is how I operate. I probably need to upgrade the slicer because I don't even have those like demon hands that hold on to everything, the trees. Desktop, and then temp prints, and then we get the end thing, and I drag it 3 screens over, and I just upload a tiny little file. And then I'm going to go do the slicing so that we can see zip printing. Let me move the camera over here too. Yeah. We'll see how long this thing takes. Oh, I don't have space for the camera's in a weird spot. I'm going to leave that alone. It's going to freeze if I do anything to it. So rest assured, I'm right over here. Just going to quickly open up Super Slicer. Actually, I'm going to open up Octoprint first and reboot Octopi Local, and I'm going to reboot that system so that I've got it ready to go once I've sliced. Oh, it looks like it's on, so I'm going to try to connect it. Serial exception. Oh, it's not on. I didn't turn it on. I need to turn the printer on. Okay, printer is on. Let's get everything connected. Get it together. Keep it together. All right, so that it says it's connecting. I don't think it is. and then open up Super Slicer. This is awkward. I would like to be doing stuff on that other computer. I just need to go back in and set it up because it's there's been some updates to my print setup. Temperature changes for summertime. Okay, this thing is not, so I'm gonna reboot the Pi. Reboot system. Proceed. And then it wants a password. Success. Okay, so there's that. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing. It's unfortunately the setup that I have right now. Stream projects. We're going to get that one. Open up a folder for that. And then put that in here. Place that down on the bed. We'll be printing in no time, chat. Don't worry. Stop worrying. Why are you worrying about everything? You guys are impossible. Okay, there's that. That's all set up. Now I think I can reconnect to the Pi. I have to do this every time. For some reason, when I turn off the printer and leave the Pi running, Clipper will get all weirded out, and then it ends up not reconnecting when I turn the Clipper back on, because it's supposed to be like connected to the microcontroller of the printer controller. And so what I'll have to do is, the quickest way is to restart the whole Pi and just start from there. And then I need to make sure that the BL touch goes up and down. And so I hear the clicks, so that's working. What the hell just happened there? It just reloaded for some reason. Okay, so that works. So now I'm just going to slice and send. And that'll take 30 minutes. All right, that's not that bad. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can just swing the camera around so you guys get some view of the printer. There's just a lot of stuff in the way right now. Just some view of the printer, just something going on there. We used to use this camera to watch Willow come and go, but she doesn't come and go anymore. She's lo-fi background vibes. Yeah, sorry. Now there's something going on camera. The dog used to visit all the time. She would come in and hang out, and we'd do tricks and all that stuff, and that was really fun. She's not a puppy anymore, and I guess she really values her quiet areas, and so she never comes down here while I'm yelling at the furniture. She does sleep under my desk when I'm working. So if I'm working on like modeling something in Fusion, that's nice quiet work, and she'll hang out and, you know, be a cute little puppy dog, a nice little companion to the stuff that I'm doing. But then when I'm streaming, I'm yelling at the furniture, and so that is anathema to sleep. So she'll just politely leave. She goes, you don't need me around here for this. I'm gonna head out. What are you spending money on, Haystack? I've put a memorandum on spending money. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now. Just engineering a pick and place machine out of, oh, wait a minute, I want to change filaments. I don't want to use up my gray. We're going to change over to black. So the cool part about the Hymeria direct drive is that I can just yoink and get this out of here. I could have it feed from that shelf. That would be kind of fun to do, but instead I've got it on kind of a rolling cart, so I don't let it, oh, that's got a funky end to it, so I'm just gonna clip it. Some old wire strippers that are dull. Back on the shelf, and then I can just feed it directly in and then protrude. I can have it poot out through the nozzle until it runs black. But I need to make sure it doesn't weld to the nozzle. A little bit more. There we go. And now I need to pluck it. I got these little offset tweezers for that. So it doesn't make a little, this will adhere to the end of the nozzle and make like a little foot that'll end up breaking my hot end if I'm not careful. Sorry, that was a filament change. Yeah, we're good. We good. And it's ready to print. So PETG directly on a glass surface that's been coated with Teflon. I should do that. I have no idea when my paydays are. Oh, that's the thing about starting a new job. Yeah. You got to figure out when all the all the paydays come in. And you got to figure out what all of their acronyms are. Bro, manual filament changes. I don't have a multi-extruder hot end. I know everybody and their dog has one nowadays. My printer is older than that. But everybody has their like Bamboo Labs. Oh, I printed in a water-soluble filament. I don't have that. I don't have the money for that. Everybody seems to either have the money for that or it's just like, you know what? I can. Oh, what was that noise? That was a weird noise. I think I can just twist the. Oh, but I've got a bunch of stuff that's right there. I can kind of give you guys an isometric of it. No, I can't. Nope, there's stuff in the way. Never mind. I can't move that. There's so much clutter in here. I need to move all of the rail stuff that's on the floor right in front of this thing. All right, so we got a couple minutes until this thing prints. I wanted to kind of fool with the air stuff, but I don't know if we'll get around to that today. I'm going to maybe test some of that stuff on my own and see if it's viable. And I think it is. The stuff that I bought, we can just kind of go over and see how we're gonna use it. Because I left the pick and place thing actually upstairs, so let me get some of these parts over here. We need basically two pieces to this. I mean, one obviously is a pressure regulator, and I'll have to dig mine out because I don't think this whole thing's going to run off of 100 psi, and that's something where I'm going to have to find parts. So maybe it is better that I do that on my own. But the syringe itself is going to have a piece that clips to the back of it, and I think I don't have the right size. Did I order the right size? No, I didn't. I don't want to have to order stuff again, but because this is Chip Quick that I accidentally ordered. It's solder paste, and then to the back of the solder paste thing, you've got these sort of like green. Oh, oh no, it's not. Wait, what the hell? What the heck? I mean, I guess I could pull this. I could like shave down the outer radius of this thing to get it to fit in. Because it's like almost there. It's very close to fitting. But that goes on the back of this, and then the syringe twists into it. Good afternoon from Spain. How's it going? How's Spain doing? Welcome, my, what is it, longitude buddy? The Philadelphia is that latitudinally? Which one is that? Hold on. So you sit over there. Get over there. Which one is which? Baron Guillermo, with a 450 watch streak. Now it's a 5-stream streak, but they tell me the channel points first, which makes it look like it's 450 watches. Latitude. How dumb are Americans? Well, this is what I'm searching right now. Oh, I'm gonna let AI answer this for me. Please God, anything but. So for some reason, the ones that are long are vertical, and the ones that are lat are horizontal, like your lats and your longs. So you're my latitudinal buddy. Latitudinally, Spain is just right over there for us in Pennsylvania. Latitude like ladder. The lat is up and down. Two completely different. So like a longer, you know, when you're trying to crawl across something and you get on the longer instead of the ladder, the longs are tall and the lats are wide. Bro, you got some wide lats. Lat is fat. How dare you call... Bow main. These are Venturi vents. So what happens is you put air from one end to the other. So pressurized air goes in here and it comes out over here. And then this hole intersects it and creates a vacuum. Actually, I have an adapter in there. 38-degree gang. Yeah, there you go. So these were like $9. I got two of them, two of these Venturis. And what these will do is create vacuum. And there's two places that I need vacuum. The primary place that I need vacuum is in the actual lure lock of the pick and place. So somehow I have to make something that twists and has a vacuum on the end. The second place that I need vacuum is in the dispenser. So this is supposed to clip to the end of that thing of solder paste. And so with that clipped on, I would have a blunt tip on the end and have this at an angle. It'd probably be like this. And so as I'm maneuvering stuff around, I can lower this and then I can dispense little bits of solder paste. This is the alternative to having like you have like a stencil cut and then you would wipe solder paste over with a squeegee and that'll leave you just enough solder. That's a really clean way to do it and it's really nice to do, but not everybody gets to do that all the time. So having a dispenser, I think, is going to be vital. The dispenser requires more stuff than the actual pick and place, because the pick and place, I can just run this with a pressure regulator and a needle valve, and then I can just have this go all the way to the end of another, you know, thing like a syringe that'll spin. With the dispenser, what I need is for regulated pressure to come into the back of that, and then I need vacuum. I need to switch over to vacuum. I'm actually wondering if I put a valve on this port, if this would go through there and then I open that valve up, pressure will go that way. And so this will end up restricting a little bit so I don't get tons and tons of pressure. Well, no, it'll still deliver the pressure eventually, but maybe it'll come on a little easier through a needle valve. I also have a needle valve with this stuff. This is an airbrush hookup kit. And so it came with things like a needle valve and these quick connects. So I need to figure out changing this over, either changing this over or just reinventing this part. I mean, maybe we 3D print something that'll clip onto the back here, or use the test to take the test. I move the O-ring. Well, that doesn't really work here, but if I found a smaller O-ring, I would move it over to here and use that in the back of this thing to create to be the end of the actual thing, and then I make a clip. We 3D print a clip that'll go on the back of this. I think that might be the way to go. It's actually the other syringes, the ones that my insulin pump used to use, that are the ones that fit to that really well. Let me find that syringe. Here, let's put you guys on the printer. Printing. Okay, so we're printing a little rod end, or sorry, 2020 rail end. And that's going to go on the end of the rail, and it is going to hold the rail parallel to the desk. That's sort of the key function of the pick and place. Where are syringe? Where did my syringe go? I'm going to get a new one then. New syringe. I think these are what I'm going to use in the pick. These are going to be what I'll use. What I'm going to use. Brain. Hello, brain. It is me, brain. The latitude was fat. No longer sterile. Yeah, I think this is the one that I want to use for the pick and place. And I can either cut that short or leave the whole thing to like twist. I do have an actual pick and place, but I think this will work a little better because I can just like replace these tips as I need to pick up different parts. You'd use a thicker one if you need to pick up like a heavy part. And then I don't know what type of syringe I'll be getting if I get another thing, because this stuff will not work. This I've had for a long time. This solder paste, it eventually hardens. I mean, whatever it is in here goes off. There's an expiration date on this stuff. You're supposed to keep it in the refrigerator, but it's like, I've always worked at places where the office fridge, they were like, technically we should put solder paste in the fridge, but we're not doing that because it's nasty. This can work as a rotating joint. It's just a little bit tough. In which case, I mean, I could just heat this up with a lighter and then twist it in here and it might make a seal. Yeah, they are good for dispensing glue. I've used them for all kinds. We actually filled one with alcohol. The typical insulin syringe that I use, we filled it with alcohol and then I injected it into one of these buttons that have these little rubber tops. and then actually refurbish the button reasonably. I don't know if I would want to do that permanently. If I was on the road and all of a sudden like my buttons stopped working because of oxidation, yeah, I'd consider injecting like rubbing alcohol into them, but I don't think that's a way to permanently refurbish these types of buttons. Replacing them is really the way to go. There's very few places to get them though, because nobody uses them anymore. So yeah, this is like, if I had a rubber seal on that, that could potentially be the solution for the pick and place. And then I need to figure out, because I don't think the skateboard bearings are a little too big to accommodate the lure lock stuff, which is very annoying. It's very annoying, unless I put a tube through the middle of that. It would be nice to use this size though, because then I could use a belt. I could just have a little bearing with a belt pulley on it, and I could use that to twist the end. Well, it would have to be in a different setup, but twist and lower. So we still have a lot of components that need to go together. This is relatively simple, but the execution of it is going to be a little bit more complicated. I'll use like an RP2040 to run a microcontroller that'll open and close the 2 valves. I think it's 3 valves that I'll need, depending on how I want the airlines to share each other's work. We do have a diagram. I have a diagram of the actual air system that's used in the real one, but I'm not sure if we need to copy its complexity. I don't think we really need to do that. I don't really think we need to do that. This, by the way, this is the way to really do bearings, is to use a shoulder bolt where the inner radius of the shoulder bolt is the same as that, and then boom, you know, Bob's your uncle. That's how you do those. But these are for smaller bearings, and then the ones that I have for larger ones are way too big. They're for much larger bearings. So we're just 3D printing our own stuff. Swinging around, swinging around, swinging around, swinging around, swinging around. What are we doing over here? How are those layers going down? I do not see a giant snot booger at the bottom of my 3D printer, so I assume everything is going great. That reminds me, I collected various sized syringes at the time when I was helping my dad with some medical problems. I can't let those things just be thrown away. No. Yeah, they're really good for dispensing glue. I'm sure, I wonder if any of the like Warhammer model people use them. So the needle, I have 1 needle valve. That's going to be something that I'll need. And then I have a pressure regulator for paintball stuff. I don't know if that's going to be good enough for this stuff. Hey, what's up, Copper? What does our diagram look like? Oh, I've closed the window. So manual, pick and place. The Manuel MPP11 manual pick and place system. This is the system that we are copying. That's the data sheet. I don't know if this is the manual. See, this has all the same stuff. I mean, we just have like a pressure regulator and some needle valves. And then this is specifically, this is the gantry that we're copying. In order to make this work, what they did is they used this large piece of flat aluminum bar and cut some speed holes in it. We're not going to do that. I'm going to use 3D printed solids because they're cheap. And I don't have to use the milling machine to set them up, but we're going to set them up with good bearings. So they're each going to have, each joint's going to have 2 bearings on it, and it should an upper and a lower, and it should resist the pull of gravity pretty well. As far as the actual head goes, I don't know about the slip joint in the top. It needs to be relatively loose. I could buy something. There's a couple things available. That'd be like $60. Maybe I could buy something, or we could just come up with something. And I'm thinking just this whole piece right here with the little handle coming off of it, I can come up with something that's close to that, but instead uses the timing belts that I've got tons of around here. I think I have some timing belts that are small enough. How do you stitch that stuff together? I don't know if you can. I guess there are ways, but gluing it together, I don't know if that works really well. But anyway, so a little piece of timing belt around there, and then that can serve as the handle. I don't necessarily need to have this little handle. This system was awesome to use, though. It makes assembly really fun. And then, of course, you have the lure lock at the bottom that'll have the needle head on it. So that's what we're copying. We'll have to figure out how to make it flex properly. But they did us the favor of having all of the schematic diagrams in here. So the electrical, oh wait, this isn't the right one. There is a manual somewhere that has all like the 2 schematic diagrams as the last 2 pages. This is just a data sheet. I think we have to go to their website. PCB Unlimited. Unlimited PCB. PCB Unlimited. Unlimited PCB. That's Doors Unlimited. They have unlimited doors. Can you believe it? It's too bad. I should send them an email and say, hey, I'm like a cool guy who likes getting sent weird things. Wave soldering pallets, solder fixtures. Where are we? Assembly, fabrication. No. Equipment? Stencils, pick and place machines. Here we go. Yeah, they got all these wonderful, extremely expensive $38,000 machines. Hey, you guys want to send me your little desktop thing? It's $9,000, $10,000. It costs more than my car. Actually, I wonder what I could sell my car for nowadays, because the last when I bought my car was before used car prices went insane. Benchtop automated pick and place. LE40. $24,000. And I love how they show for these things, they show the they're like, yeah, you can get the TV system, and it's like a CRT TV. Would be terrible if the schematics were behind a site log. And don't give them ideas, please. Don't give them ideas. They have their data sheet. Where's the actual manual? Actually, maybe this data sheet has it. It's got all the same stuff, except, yeah, here we go. So yeah, there's the manual. I mean, it is very simple. It's just driving a couple relays. That's all we're really doing. We're taking 120 volts in, driving relays, and we got a little screen, and we've got 2 pedals, and maybe a light. It's not complicated, but this is the important diagram. This is the air diagram, and these are like solenoids and stuff, and I don't totally understand what all the symbols are for this sort of thing, but I guess in here we've got these air symbols are so weird. Here, can we turn the page? And I mean like twist the page, not like Metallica. Turn the page. I guess not. Okay, so we've got air coming in and getting regulated to a particular pressure. That's what's on the display over here, so you know you're getting the right pressure air. I mean, this is simple stuff. And then we've got a splitter, and so our pressured air is being held behind a solenoid here, and a, is that a regulator? Number 11. Oh wait, what is this? Reducer bushing. TF. Oh no, we're not doing TF. Hose barb, pressure, vacuum, coupling, plug, hose barb. Why do you label everything but the ones that are the most confusing, like G? Do we have an explanation for it? No, we do not. We do not get an explanation. Fuse. We do not. No, we don't get an explanation. That's for their own notes. That'd be nice. Anyway, okay, so we're to assume that that's not an electrical valve, so I don't know what that is. I guess it's a needle valve, maybe? So we have a needle valve of air going through another solenoid. So the 3 solenoids are what control our airflow. So for the dispensing line, we would start out with pressurized air through the first solenoid, and then when we stop dispensing, it would briefly trigger the second solenoid that goes through this circle thing, which is a Venturi vent. So as air flows out of here, it will pull from here. Why would there be a third solenoid on this? You would have to open this. Where's our vacuum line? That's through there. So you would open this one to suck back. Why is there another? They're both normally open. That's a normally closed. So pressure flowing in would suck back on this if it's normally open and open. That's a very weird scheme. I don't know what's going on here. I think they're trying to limit the flow through certain structures, or they want to keep vacuum on all the time? That doesn't make any sense. Well, maybe that's another electric valve. That doesn't make any sense. See what I mean? It seems like there's like a little too much going on here. Because really, you just have your dispenser line over here. And so you would have pressure run into it to dispense, and then you would expose it to just a brief vacuum to pull it back. Live chat pops up every time, and you have to log in to get this information. I would be livid. I mean, look, I would love to support this company. I would love to buy one of these things, but they are $5,000. I do not have $5,000 to spend on a pick and place machine. It would be nice, but we can also design my pick and place machine to hover at the height of the hot plate so that I can use that hot plate with the rest of this stuff. And the fact that I have, you know, defunct 3D printer and XY gantry hardware coming out of my ears means that we can very easily build something like this. I may have to get another one of those airbrush compressor kits or airbrush airline kits because I need another needle valve. That's what this is. These two are needle valves to limit the amount of flow. So the amount of flow that's going, it would pressure into there. You'd cut that off, there'd still be pressure. So you would open this up and it would go through the Venturi, but then the Venturi is creating, this is the input to the Venturi. Wait a minute, okay. Pressure comes into the Venturi here and creates vacuum on this line. So pressure comes in here through this needle valve. So you've got pressure always sitting over here, but this is also normally open. So during regular operation, you would have vacuum into that line because there's nothing else limiting it. It's coming in here, it's getting regulated, and then you've got just a tiny, tiny amount going through there at all times. That seems a little irresponsible with your air. You were commenting on the fact that the site currently has a live chat pop up at the bottom right corner. Oh yeah, it does do that. Live chat with an agent. No, no thank you. Man, you know, if I could build something like this and make a living off of it, that would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. I always dream about having some kind of invention that actually makes any sense and provides something to the overall, I don't know, productivity of the entire world. My favorite thing is the RF like test parts and stuff where it's like, and this is I'm completely oversimplifying this by a big factor, but it's close to reality, is where you have a guy who puts a resistor into a little box with a bunch of RF connectors on it and sells that, and everybody goes, you have to get that thing. It's $500 and you can calibrate your equipment with it. And everybody does buy that thing from that one guy who has a Windows like 3.1, you know, Internet 1.0 website with like animated GIFs of shoveling. Oh, we're under construction. We'll be back soon. But if you want to order stuff, send me a line, right? That's my dream. I'm unfortunately not in that much of a niche of test equipment that I would know what to build in the first place. That thing, that weird thingy with a BNC plug on it that everybody needs. I would love to be able to just, you know, and that guy makes plenty of money just selling his widget, and he's totally happy to just do that out of his house. That would be my ideal. I would do that and stream, because I do very much enjoy streaming. But those are few and far between, and you need to kind of know the niche in order to get in on that. So unfortunately, that's not a thing that I can really pivot on. Your site isn't optimized for Netscape. My Netscape navigator froze when I opened up your web zone. Please fix this. That's why you've got to ping websites with an early Internet Explorer copy every now and then, just to keep them on their toes. Yeah, so the thing I don't get is that they're running vacuum through a normally open line, and I guess why you would have two valves on this, you could just close this one. You could just close this one, and the vacuum would just accumulate in this line. It would still waste that little bit of needle air, and I guess you could then cut this one off so you're not wasting that needled air. Or you could put this on the other side of the needle valve, like you should. And that would mean that the air would go through your Venturi vent a little bit after you cut it off. So you wouldn't get as sharp of a cutoff of the vacuum that you're putting on that line. I guess you'd add this one in order to prevent air coming back through, right? So you pressurize your line, you want to make sure that this isn't activated. And that's probably what this whole scheme is. It's just that it just seems like a little wasteful of valves. I mean, we've got 4 valves in this whole thing. I feel like I could probably pull this off with fewer valves. Probably not though, because you don't want the same volume of vacuum. If I cut off the exhaust, technically pressure would go up and out here. So if I had this connected to the syringe line, this would pick it up. Well, not to the syringe line, sorry, to the tube, to this thing. So it would be pressurized, and then you'd release this and it would unpressurize. And then you close your valve quickly after that. Oh, but then this would still have pressure on it, so you need 2 valves. Internet Explorer 6 is installed just for that very purpose. Your website operator is quaking in their boots. I really hope that I don't get that Internet Explorer 6 ping again. I'm starting to understand why there's this valve scheme, but I'm wondering if I need to go that far with it. So if I have pressure going into the Venturi, and this is connected to here, if I cut this off, I'm pressurizing. If I open this up, I'm vacuuming. So 1 valve on this, 1 valve on the pressure, and then you would need to time and you'd cut off your pressure, and then you'd cut off your vacuum. When you open pressure, everything pressurizes. Then you'd open your vacuum, it depressurizes, then you close your pressure and close your vacuum. I think that's all you would need. I don't think you need to have 3 solenoids doing this, because it seems like this has, the vacuum line is on a splitter, and each of those lines on the splitter have their own valve, and then the other side of the supply side of the vacuum has its own valve. So you would open up a different valve, and then open up the valve to your actual thing, and then you'd open up the vacuum valve, and this doesn't, yeah, this is weird. I don't know. They did it this way for a reason, though. They did it this way for a reason. Maybe it's just that your needle air. I don't really know, because you have a needle on that one, but then you don't have one on the other side. So our pressure to go in is the full pressure, whatever you set this to, and then the vacuum that you produce is produced from a needle valve. So you don't just run full pressure out the vacuum tube. Okay, well, I think I understand it a little better. The question is where I can get valves and what pressure I'd be running at. I think it's somewhere around 20 PSI. I don't really remember, though. I don't remember what they were running for that. Maybe it's in this manual. Let's see here. Operation. Turn PP switch on. Set vac flow to maximum. Counterclockwise increases volume. Place hand and arm into the hand crusher. Turn the gripper. Yeah, they don't give you an idea of what the pressure is going to be, huh? They should tell you how much they expect, though. 90 PSI max. Self-contained vacuum unit available. So it'd be somewhere under 100 PSI, huh? How much of this hardware is locked behind embedded Windows 95 or ME? Well, this thing, if we're talking about the pick and place and not pinging websites, this thing is all on a microcontroller. I mean, I wonder what microcontroller it's under. It's probably a very old one. We can do this in an Arduino in about 10 minutes. It's very easy. The display stuff would be the hardest thing, because I'd have to make it look fancy. Oh, it's also got a digital pressure sensor. And memory mode. Mode man. Okay, so they say 50 psi on the screen here. Maximum 90. Set delay, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, that's all I got. A vacuum head doesn't pick up. Check the vacuum hose. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, so I don't know if that many solenoids are going to be necessary, but I guess we're going to need 100 psi solenoids. Let's see what we got here. Solenoid valve. $10, 16 for a piston one. The piston one might actually, trying to think, that might actually work for doing, because all the dispenser is, well, it's kind of a piston. It's not really. What do you think about using an airbrush compressor for the vacuum? I need to do tests on that. That's what we were going to do today. I want to get this print done. This print is going to be done any minute now. Oh, it literally, when I just flipped over to it, it finished. Okay, well, the print's done, so we're going to let that cool and pop off the bed, and then we'll figure it out. Are you hacking a CIA satellite? If I told you, I would have to kill you. No, we're trying to make a manual pick and place, and the thing about a manual pick and place is that it picks and it places. Just dial tone for my brain. The thing about it is that in order to pick stuff up, we need vacuum. I have a little airbrush compressor. It sits under the desk. It's my Hitachi, and we need that to do all of the tasks that this manual pick and place do. One of the unique things that the pick and place does is it will actually pressurize a cylinder of solder paste and then put vacuum on that line for just a brief amount of time so that you don't end up dribbling out solder paste, you know? So it makes for a very, very controllable dispenser of solder paste. So I'm trying to figure out what the mechanics of that are. I've got two of these little Venturi vent things, so I can put pressure into one end and it'll just leak out the other and it'll create a vacuum on the third end. Using these, though, you are exposing your airline to basically an open connection. It's just an open line coming out of here. So in order to pressurize and then depressurize this, I need to have a certain amount of mechanics involved in it. And I'm wondering if like a piston specific solenoid would work, because it tries to connect air to one line or the other. And then when it connects air to the one line, it'll let the other one exhaust. So the question is, if I connect them to the same place, one is through something that creates vacuum and the other's just connected directly, I guess this one will become exhaust, so we don't want that. Huh. So I want like an anti-solenoid valve one. Interesting. That's a strange setup. It would be nice if I could just get like a big solenoid block for the airline stuff, but I'm gonna have to figure out, like, I don't want to order 500 things, but I threw out a bunch of that coffee maker stuff, and that was all like air valves and stuff like that. I'm really disappointed that I threw all that stuff out. This is what always happens. It always happens. I end up throwing something out that I think is totally inconsequential, and then it becomes absolutely vital to a project that I'm working on. So I already have one of these, actually, one of these like $9 ones. I don't want to spend $40 on stupid valves. What is this? This is 12 volt. What is our pressure on this? 7 out of 9. What? 115. So that's actually well within spec. That, and I get a pressure regulator, a bunch of other stuff. I don't know, man. The airbrush kit is actually a really good one, because if I really need to, I could probably use this as a like a turnbuckle, like a spinning component for the airline. But I would need to get that lure lock adapter, and that was expensive. The plastic one was cheap, so maybe I could just get the plastic one. I was hoping instead I could use one of my own syringes, but that's a little bit harder to do. I also don't have an O-ring for that, but if I had an O-ring for that, that'd fit pretty nicely. And then I can use the belt stuff, the 3D printer belt, to go around that and spin this. So that could be my picking and placing component Would be pretty cool. All right, is our print cooled yet? Probably not. I don't really want to force this thing off of the bed because it'll take a piece of the bed with it. PETG is that sticky. So right now this thing is completely locked in. Oh, did that generate support? Uh-oh. I didn't want to generate support. That's going to be very annoying. Wait, what did it do? Why did it do it like that? Oh yeah, it generated support for the side hole. It shouldn't have done that. Should not have did that. Well, this is only at 80 degrees Celsius. 80 degrees Celsius. Which is actually still quite hot. Never mind. It's like 80 degrees. That's what it is outside. No, it's not. No, it's not, Bother, you stupid American. I can spritz this with Windex. Where's my Windex? It's not over there. This is why we organize things in a particular way, so that we don't end up in the situation where my Windex has walked. Where did my Windex walk to? Why did it walk? There it is. Here's a bottle of it. Hot enough to cook an egg. Well, let's get an egg. So, spritz of Windex. The main purpose of it being that the solvents of the Windex will get between the print and the print bed, and also the evaporative cooling of the Windex on the hot bed will cool the part and cool the bed, and with them cooling, they will shrink at different rates, and that different rate is what'll pop it off. I'm about to pop off. I don't want to force it off of the bed. I am trying to get it up early because morning wood jokes just go there. I'm trying to get it off of the bed quickly just so that we can work with the part today. Usually I would just let this thing sit. There we go. I just want to be careful to be kind to my bed, you know? That bed has actually got to go. It's gotta go. It's actually got a lot of spots on it. It's in bad shape, but I'm trying to use it for as long as possible. So yeah, we did generate support material. I didn't want to do that. Let's just see how our print works and what kind of iterative design changes we need to make. Iterative. Iterative is another way of saying screw-ups. I'm going to self-censor there. Much different word that I would normally use. These wire cutters are really good at getting rid of support material. They're quite good at it. And then we're going to have to thread the end of this thing too. It's close to a nicely printed part. I don't know if I'd quite say, because there's a lot of warping going on up here, but it's PETG, so it's very strong. That's why I print with PETG. That's gonna ruin my tweezers. Hold on. I need something that can punch through this that won't ruin itself in doing so. Well, you know, maybe. No, that's not quite the right size. I have a set of punches, but I'm not. That's a dumb thing to use the punches for. I don't want to ruin my my threads either. Oh, a screwdriver would work. Although the screwdriver is going to push everything out to the side. And we don't want to punch through our flesh. So let's get something that's not flesh and put that as the backdrop. The temperature outside is higher than my battery's phone percentage. We're talking about the stuff that's affordable for Johnny Homeowner. I guess so. Punching support material out of a 3D print without injuring yourself when printing in PETG is actually a skill. It's a skill, and it should be cultivated because so many ways that the food of your choice can end your life. There we go. All right, so with the support material out of there, this thing is luckily printed in a very dark filament color, so we can't see what's going on, which is nice. And now we need to tap the end of this so we can put our test together. So for the tap, I need an M5 tap, and I need one of these that looks like it was cut on anything other than a hacksaw. Maybe that's a big ask. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, the PETG I get a usable part out of, and it's very, very strong indeed. But it doesn't make a very pretty part compared to what printers are doing now. I mean, these printers are crazy now. They're crazy. And all these makers and shakers and bakers have all of these like crazy dual filament bamboo whatever. I just have me old Franken printer. M5. Okay, here we go. An hour ago, I was going low. Breakfast is on the table. I'm eating as best I can. Like 12:30? Yeah, you're gonna deal with a lot of real quirky glucose level things. Did we make those side holes the right diameter? I think we did. I think I had that in mind. All I have is a vague memory of putting those parts together an hour ago. It says it's a 20-minute print, but your print bed takes a long time to set up. All right, so I'm going in dry, which is a really bad idea, especially with this stuff, because you can end up catching pieces of aluminum and then dragging it through all of your threading efforts, and it'll end up just enroundinating the insert, and then when it enroundinates the insert, it makes it a larger diameter, and so you can never use that hole again for the rail unless you're really good with welding aluminum. But yeah, so I've got to be careful about that, and so I'm just being real careful to back up often and break the chip. You want to break that chip off so it's nice and smooth. I don't know how really deep I need these threads. I think that's probably enough, creating a lot of chip stuff. Ooh, that didn't feel great. Okay, that's okay. All right, so that should do. What the hell's going on up there? Something just rolled by, or there was a thunderstorm, because the ground shook, like the concrete ground under me shook. I think that might have been a thunder. Was that a thunder? What's the window look like? I'm not turning around. I'm actually just using OBS to look at the window behind me. Why was it made like this? I don't know. It doesn't look stormy out, so I think that was somebody rolling something across the floor. It sounded like an explosion went off, like a county over. Maybe there was a chemical fire. Maybe we'll get a new USCSB. Man, I wonder how they did with Doge going through our government. The USCSB. Those are like the best videos, man. Those are all the chemical explosions and stuff that would go on. That's going to damage the threads. I was looking for something to deburr it with and wondering if I could just use... Oh, it's a vacuum cleaner. That's what it is. Just trying to deburr the threads that I just made. I think I just ruined the threads that I just made. Hold on, that was a bad idea. But yeah, I wonder how they did with all that Department of Government Efficiency shit that went on. I hope we get USCSB videos of the same quality going forward. All right, so that's threaded, and now we can take our big old screw and put that through that end, but we need our medium old screws to go through the other ends, so I need to get the other screw kit. I need to get the other bolt kit, because this one's not complete. Oh yeah, they did, but they've already ravaged our government, at least in the ways that the billionaires wanted. So I'm wondering, the USCSB is not immune to their, to their gaze, so they probably went through a round of layoffs, and I'm wondering what came out in the end. If they still have the same ability, are they still going to hire that buttery smooth announcer for their videos? Can they afford him? These are important questions. It's vital information. I'm also going to need the wrenches for this. All right, so that gives us plenty of threads, so this will be perfect. And now you have screw flies. What? Screw flies. What is... Wait, huh? What? Eh. What you talking about? I'm only using these because I have a lot of them. Oh, screw worms, yeah. Yeah, now we have screw worms. We had a program that would release, what were they, like, inert screwworm larvae across the border that kept up this sort of iron wall of bugs that we now don't have and maybe can never do again. Maybe we can never do that again. That was cool. Thanks for that. Really appreciate it. Love what you've done with the place. Fucking up everything and blaming everyone but yourself. All right, so these are there just to hold this thing from twisting. Yeah, exactly. It was just sort of like a sacrificial, but it did a really good job. It kept us free of that thing. And that was directly dismantled, and now it is a complete fuck up. Very annoying to read about this stuff that I didn't know existed, because it operated quietly and efficiently with dignity like most government programs do. Turns out we cannot afford to have an inefficient government. And so a lot of the inefficiencies come from your ignorance of what they do quietly in the background. The people that we hire for government jobs, you're speaking to somebody who was a contractor for them. It turns out the people who you hire to do these things do it quite well because you're careful about who you... Ooh, that's a nice fit. That's a nice fit. That turned out to be a nice fit. It wiggles a little bit, but I think with some screw pressure, our little blocking... That the shocking thing is that the actual rail and the model of the rail that we used and the measurement for my bolt were all extremely close, to the point where, if you can hear it, there's just a little click that it makes. It's not quite a press fit. I could have maybe moved them in just like a hair. Instead of using the constraints on the outside, I could have maybe moved it just a hair past, and then it would have been like a tight press fit. But I think this is good enough, and I'm not going to re-author the part for that. Although it does go into the bin. It goes into the bin of things that I could potentially change on the part if I do another revision of it. But with that nice and tight, that shouldn't be moving at all, not with the types of force that I can put into it. And so now we go and we try to attach the arms to it. And I'll modify two of the arms right here. So, I mean, these could probably have also printed with everybody else, but I'm just gonna, wang jangle the end off there. This is a hacksaw job. This is a hacksaw job. This is where it's good to have like a fake finger, and you drop the fake finger on the floor. I can't really like hold on to this. I don't know why. I have a bench vise. I do. I have a bench vise. It's right over there. I could have used it. I could just use the bench vise. Turns out those are kind of thin. Turns out those are kind of thin, and they might need a redesign. Well, we're going to deal with it for now. Let me get a drill bit. Let me get a drill bit. Drill. And I need some of these things over here. Just use those for now. And a nice big old drill bit. Actually, we could use a step drill for this. Step drill, I'm stuck. Yeah, we'll just use step drill. And this guy. Which CAD software are you using? I'm using Fusion 360, Untitled Goose. So this is a hashtag AutoCAD ad. I had to add that to the title because I am indeed sponsored with a copy of Fusion 360. So Fusion 360 does like timeline, what is it? Some kind of, what is that scheme again? It's procedural. I don't. Anyway, it's not procedural, but basically what you do is you define sketches and then you extrude solids out from there. And so that's what we've been doing today. We've been basically creating sketches that define the geometries of the system that's going to be the sort of manual pick and place. So we do need to modify this part here. I need to close it off on the end and maybe put a couple vertical holes and thicken up this part a little bit, because you saw how the hacksaw just blew it into 1,000 pieces. But that's what essentially lets me create the three-dimensional solids that I then export and send to what I use as Super Slicer. I don't think I would suggest you use Super Slicer. I don't know what the state of Super Slicer is. Whatever your particular flavor of slicer is to then send to the 3D printer. I'm using Octoprint. Even that, people will tell you, you should use Mainsail. But Fusion 360 allows me to take common parts from a website called GrabCAD. There's a website called GrabCAD. It's an additive manufacturing business that bought a huge archive of 3D models that people still add to. So GrabCAD, and then I go to Community Library. This is the big advantage of this website. People make all kinds of stuff here. There's even a rail just sitting on the front page, like a bucket excavator. And so if I want, I can look up 60, 80, what is it again? What was the size of bearing that was? I can't read that text. .608 RS. So I do 608 bearing, and you get tons and tons of models, and you can just choose the one that you think looks the best. And basically, if you get a step file, you can pull that directly into Fusion and use that as a component in order to plan out the geometries of your sketch, along with numbers. Numbers, of course, are going to do a lot of the defining. Now, I learned all of this in college. That's where I learned how to use AutoCAD. And then when it came to building circuit boards, I learned Eagle. And so Eagle was the darling of the hobby scene when I was just a young homunculus. And as I came up into this stuff, it was the one that people were using all the time. And so I went, all right, well, what's the state of Eagle CAD? And it turns out Fusion Autodesk bought Eagle and they wrapped it into Fusion 360. So the thing that I use to plan out where all these solids are going and what I'm going to 3D print, I can also pull a circuit board into the rest of that diagram. So I'd be using this if I wasn't sponsored to use it. I'm sponsored to use it, which gives me the cool copy that I use. Otherwise, I'd be using the free copy, and we'd all get to deal with the limitations, because apparently the limitations can get a little bit annoying on the free copy. If you make less than $10,000 a year, I think you can get a copy of it for free. That's pretty capable, I think. But yeah, if only they supported Linux. This is also the only thing that anchors me to Windows. Windows 10 is unsupported, but they recently ended their support for Windows 10. I would very much like to use Linux. They do not support Linux. There are ways to get it running, and I haven't tried. I would like to. One day I'll get to it. But I would be running some type of, like, because I'm running KDE on a handheld, but I'd be running some flavor of Linux that was relatively light if that were the case. Because I mean, OBS runs really well on Linux, so I could be just sipping on my RAM while doing all of the stuff that I do here. So this turned out really well. I mean, this design doing pretty good. Some versions of Windows 10 are still supported. Really. It stopped yelling at me, so I don't know. Mine is, I think, Pro or something like that. We're eyeballing this because I'm going to be reinventing this part anyway. Oh, geez, come on. That's walking all over the place. Just putting holes in it. Damn it. Good enough. I got Inventor to run last year, but I lost the school license. Sadly, I'm running CAD Sketcher in Blender. You know, Gonad, I've seen Gonad use a lot of Blender, and it looks like a very capable piece of software. The one thing that Blender, I think, kind of doesn't do as well is all of the numbers-based designing and sketching that I do in Fusion. So I've used Blender when I need to like get down to vectors and actually do some like real vector connections to like close off somebody else's game file as a 3D print file. You need to do a lot of like fiddly, vectory, and surfacey kind of work. Fusion claims to be able to do that stuff, but it kind of is not really that good at it. I feel like I need to probably print these because they're not going to be as good. that moved all the way over. Oh, wait. Arch with Neary for the win. Is none of that handheld held a message for smart detection? I don't think that is an... I don't think there's anything terrible in that sentence. I don't think there's anything bad in there. I got Inventor, school license. So if you've got letterhead from the university, I think you can use that to prove that you're a student. I haven't tried doing it that way though. They were asking me about my university copy, and I was like, and right before it ran out, they contacted me and were like, hey, we got this creators program. I'm like, hey, yeah, of course, I'd love to use that. So I luckily enough, I get a copy of it for free, but I don't know. There's plenty of ways to improvise yourselves into a copy of Fusion. Now I feel like I need to make a little plug that goes between these two. But let's just assemble it and just see what happens. See what explodes. So I can use these cleats, I think, with more M4 fasteners. Where's the other piece of rail? Here it is. Oh, this is the bad one. Well, actually, there's plenty right here. Plenty to go around. Yeah, I think I need more material on these, so I'm probably going to have to redesign them a little bit. I work at a university, so I have an email that passes for a lot of that kind of thing. Yeah, that's basically, you could get a university copy of this software easily. And you know, I guess just not making over a certain amount of money is also the... I don't know what copy you get for that, because I have not explored any of these avenues, but if somebody is particularly desperate for a copy, you can also take a community college course and just fail it. So the cost of the community college course, and I don't know exactly how this works, but you know, because you're taking that particular CAD course, you get a free copy of Fusion, and then you just go, well, I guess I failed again, I better take it again. I've never done this. I've never done any of these things, so I don't know exactly how that works. I can't totally vouch for the methods there. I probably shouldn't be talking about that if I'm sponsored by them, but whatever. They can deal. Someone is baking something today. I smell it. This is another one of those kits that's been through too many moons, and it's starting to get kind of weird. I guess I could use the larger bolts, but we'll redesign that other part in just a second. Turns out this part's taking as long as what I plan to do with the airlines, but with the all the air stuff that I want to do, there's no telling what kind of hardware that I have or don't. What was the Tech Connections video? Wait. Oh, the local Lowe's removed their ceiling fan aisle. Replaced it with portable corded fans. What? I saw the Tech Connections video. I didn't watch it yet. I don't know if I can tolerate that long of a discussion about ceiling fans. I like turned it on and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I care. I'm sorry, Tech Connections. Is that actually, that's not actually, it is. Okay, that is actually, okay. Sorry, with these particular type of nut for these rails, you don't know if it's bottoming out because your screws are too long, or if it's actually making a connection. And I think that's on there. So we can actually properly test this. I had to put a big washer on there because this is so thin. I've only got, that's a really thin amount of material. I didn't anticipate that when I made the part. The video's 11. It's like Skyrim. I remember the hype for Skyrim. I remember the hype for Portal. Oh, that was a lot of hype. Portal 2, rather. Portal 2 had such good... They had like a whole ARG going on and everything. Oh, man, it was great. Remember when Valve had games? Controversial point, but do you remember when Valve had games? Stupid. Such a stupid milquetoast thing. Anyway. Oh, damn it. All of these are the huge size, and I don't know if I want to use that many enormous bolts for this. I guess I could. It doesn't matter. Could try to uniform the hardware up a little bit more. There we go. These little cleats are designed to turn 90 degrees in the rail, and then they provide a little connection that you can then back out of. So we're just going to try to put together a little demo to see if this thing works out. Is that the wrong size? That's the wrong size. Then I need to redesign these top pieces. Basically, I'll just modify what I've already got. That should work. All this tiny hardware. Smells like somebody's baking a pizza upstairs, but I know that's not what it is. It would be nice if somebody would make pizza. I'm always the one to make it. If you never make pizza for your roommates, maybe consider it. maybe consider it. You know? It's the right thing to do. As I'm saying this, Willow's just like barking at nothing. Sourdough pizza crust. Why do you have to up the ante like that? That's asking way too much. All right, this fit in there. So I could actually, what I really could do is make little plugs that go on the ends. That's what I'll probably do. I'll design a little plug that I can insert into this, and then it'll stay in there, and then this just goes in like that, and I just bolt it from the outside. But for now, we can use washers. So I need one for the inside, one for the outside, and then one in between. No, one in the inside and one on the outside. And that'll hold this thing on there. Having some kind of a spacer in there would be nice to keep things, you know, centered. But for now, we can just... If only I could like cut this off, and then I would have that little T-plug that I want. Need to start a new sourdough starter? That means you need to come up with a name. What will you name? This is a big responsibility. You're responsible for a whole life form. Well, billions. If you ever want to kill billions of things, by the way, get into brewing. It's a real good hobby for people who want to kill billions. I wish to destroy, Father. Okay, let's do this, and that, and this, and that. Really, a shoulder bolt is the appropriate piece of hardware here, but we'll get around my lack of shoulders with ingenuity. I just want to get the test together real quick so that I know what I'm making. We need to shorten up these little crank arms that I've made and put bolt holes in them. Jeez, is that even... Okay, hold on. Here's the other problem. These need just a little bit of help getting their initial threads. The East Colony is known as Tony. That works. It's a fine name for a sourdough starter. Okay, so that's primed. Let's get the other one primed real quick. What it'll do, like putting a bolt through this, is just going to kind of force out the PETG, but the PETG is typically so flexible, and these aren't cut to do their own threading. If these were cut, if they had a little cut in them, they would actually machine the material down as they go in. The other part with this interference fit on this axis is that it can pop the layers of PETG apart from one another. This will fracture right along the seam if my printer isn't set properly. So if I try to overdo it with this pressure fit, it could actually lead to splitting the part apart. But these should be pretty good. These should be pretty decent at holding and everything. I guess push comes to shove, I put a nut in there somehow. And I guess I could make this the exact width of a nut and have a nut fall down in there. That could actually work perfectly well. That would actually be a completely viable thing for me to do, but it would make assembly that much more annoying. Hell, I could even have the nut slot in and then have the printer print around it. Nah, that's too much. That's too much. Too much, too much. All right, I wonder if I get one started on this side, if that'll hold things so I can get the washer in and do the other side. Because this is fiddly business. This is why I want to print a little plastic plug that'll go in. And just pressure fit between these two. Because it keeps you in alignment. Oh God, my hands are like cramping. Crampy diabetic hands. Crampy, crampy. Nope. Okay, how am I going to do this? You know, I feel like I probably need that little plastic plug. Let's make the part. Let's make the part. This is aligning so annoyingly that I've decided that I must have the part. So we're making a new thing, and that's going to be based on this piece, not this piece. So what we'll do is I will get rid of our new guy, and we will start another sketch, a new sketch, but this time it's just on this. So create sketch right there, and then I pretty much am just going to follow the geometries that I already have. So that's it. That's all I need. I'm just going to finish that sketch, and then I will extrude, oops, extrude this. Oh wait, no, we need one more. I need one more. Let's go back to that sketch. Go back to that sketch. This is like a 2-minute part. HOAs are just one giant reason why I enjoy not living in the US. We have an HOA here, and it's not terrible, but it's also like there have been death threats on the streets about the use of siding, the choices of siding for the houses in the neighborhood. And I'm like, why would you choose this particular type of siding? It doesn't look like a house in Pennsylvania. It looks like a Florida house. And they don't understand. They don't understand why it would be good to stick with the identity of the state that you're in. The 50 states are like 50 separate countries. They have their particular looks, and it's interesting when, like, I see somebody playing GeoGuessr, like Rob Oz will play GeoGuessr, and I'm like, that's Pennsylvania. And occasionally I'm correct. Occasionally I'm correct just by the flora and the fauna. Okay, 3.8 would be there. I could use the 5mm ones. That would make me 4.8 for the interference fit. But then there's not a lot of material in my plug, and I really don't need that big of a bolt holding it together. So we'll just do 3.8. And that way we've got enough plastic around this thing to actually make these viable. So that's all I need for my sketch is the size of, actually, no, it's not 3.8. I screwed up. This is supposed to be a washer. This is part of the mechanism that puts pressure into the rest of this thing. So actually what we want is this to be 4.2 so that it has, it fits in that inner race and holds everything together. But the bolt is what's doing all the work, right? If I make that a 4, I guess it'll be better centered. Maybe we'll make it a 4. We'll make that a 4. I think that's a compromise. That means that the little bands of the layers are actually going to be, because they're a little tiny bit uneven, so they're going to actually hold on to that bolt for me. The random metadata that you learn from GeoGuessr is insane. It's also why I'm terrible at it. Yeah, I've seen, because I haven't really played it personally, but I've watched Rabaz play it on several occasions. And the types of things that he does in order to get the locale is kind of insane. Oh, why is that the wrong one? Okay, so we need to project that down onto our actual thing. So we need to project. So I'm going back into my sketch. Back into the sketch, and I need to get the absolute... I need to project that line and the absolute outer line on that. Okay, so that's what I need. Now I've got everything I need. So we extrude, and I extrude this only, and the distance is to object, and it's this. And I may lower that a little bit so that we get some pressure from it. Although, yeah, I might do that. Okay, so that's that one. Now we go over here, and we go extrude, and I take total outer radius, that little guy, and this little guy, and I want it to connect to the solid that I already have, and I'm going to do that, what was it, 1.2. I don't know if that's going to meet up with the number of layer lines or not. There may be a little bit of wiggle room in this whole thing. I'm not sure about that. Technically, I could take that out all the way to this outside radius, but there will be a little bit of like depth of the pattern up here, and it might make it a little thicker than what I want. So I'm going to keep that the way it is. And I guess I'm going to take this one and extrude -0.1 and just cut into that a little bit so that my washer presses up against this collar down through our piece and into the piece below it where it'll friction fit tightly. It's funny how often I've seen people mistake the craters of the moon in southern Idaho for Hawaii. That's interesting. Knowing the different bin colors, that's a good. Well, around here we don't have a consistent like bin color. Okay, so that one goes there, so that's going to be another part that I need like 50 of. And then this one we need to alter. So let me alter this guy. Actually, while I'm altering that guy, I'm going to start printing these little guys. So let's take body 3 as our washer. PNP washer. It's not an NPN washer. You don't want to get the wrong one. So that's a PNP. Okay, what? There we go. PNP. It's dynamite. Okay, there's that. And then PNP washer. Save as mesh. Hopefully we can get these parts today. If not, I mean, I'm just going to have to assemble them on my own, and I can tell you guys how they are. I think this will be pretty cool, though. Waste management is green, yeah, but we have like brown and blue, and our recycling is blue, but some people don't have official recycling bins. I actually found out you can buy vinyl decals. And so what we have is our normal garbage bins. We put giant vinyl decals on them that say recycling. And you use a heat gun when you do that, right? You clean it off as best you can, get it dry, put the vinyl on there, and then use a heat gun on it so that it really sticks on. And so that's how we have recycling bins. So again, if you were geoguessing, you would have absolutely no clue where you are based on the standardization of management bins. PNP washer, and then I got to do this stupid thing where I throw it over to Discord just because I don't have good file transfer worked out, and my server's permissions are all over the place. This is very annoying. Yeah, it's the trees and stuff. I was watching Swamp Zombies, and I would not suggest you go and watch Swamp Zombies, because Swamp Zombies, it's not a good movie. There's no way for me to frame it as being a good movie. I just can't. You know, the thing that's bothering me right now that I'm thinking about in the back of my head is that the outside, like the bottom of that bearing isn't supported by anything. But anyway, Swamp Zombies is from movie maker Len Kabasinski. The sequel is not, so I wouldn't suggest you go out and watch the sequel. But the original one is, it's not a good movie. Len Kabasinski makes movies, though, which is more than any of us can claim, right? Hold on, I gotta refresh this. Oh, I didn't download it yet. But he films in the northwestern part of Pennsylvania, so around Pittsburgh. My friend and I were watching Swamp Zombies a long time ago, and we were like, this is so familiar, because we both spent a lot of time in the woods. I've spent quite a bit of time in the woods, burying bodies and whatnot. How many instances am I going to need? I'm going to need a lot of these, but I think I'm going to print 4 just for now. Set number of instances to 4. And then I'm just going to space them out on the bed in a place that I know prints well. And I'm going to send this to the printer. It's going to take 10 minutes. Upload and print. So in just removing all the plastic from the printer, my printer's ready to go again. That's the beauty of PETG and the partial glass bed. Every time I talk about this, everybody wants to chime in and tell me, hey, Bother, I print with this. I use a PEI sheet as a this and that and the other thing. And I'm, listen, all I do for my printer is I kick all the plastic off and then I'm ready to go again. And it works every time, most of the time. So anyway, all of the foliage in his movie was so familiar to us. Just the types of plants that you see, and get this, the sound of the birds. The specific sound of the birds was, you can like get localized by the sounds of the birds in different woods. It was crazy. It was crazy how weirdly familiar the movie is. We were used to like, you know, LA woods and stuff. Oh, later, engineer. Yeah, a treadmill belt, that kind of died out. I think they stopped doing that because that was a thing for a while. Printing directly onto a belt, and you would print sort of like at a 45-degree angle on the belt. So you'd be going over like multiple layers. Your Z-axis was doing a lot of work, but you could print something like a sword as one big print, which was pretty cool. You can tell what it's filmed based on a 60 hertz cycle. Really? I can't. Maybe I can. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I've noticed that anywhere. All right, so we're just waiting now because those pieces will fit into these, and then I can do the test. So in the meantime, let's modify this part to be what we want it to be. And what I can do is actually do a very easy modification by going through the timeline. If I'm willing to kick out everything back here, I guess I am. I'm not particularly married to this. So let me go back into this sketch all the way back here. Actually, where did I do? Okay, so let's make this into a solid line. So I'm just going to click it and hit X, and that'll just make that a solid line. And then I can finish that sketch. Oh, you know what? I want a couple more lines on that. So let's go back. We have to go back. Okay, so I want 2 screw holes in here. I don't know where I want them though. 10 millimeter center line. I guess if I split this, if I take this line from here to our sidewall, but our sidewall is going to be 4 millimeters over here. So let me just pre-plan 4 millimeters. And then from that 4, take a line out this way. Then take the center of that line. Somewhere, there it is. And I guess take 2 more lines off of that. I'm doing this kind of a weird way. take that over to here and then put a circle on the center of this line. And that one's going to be a slip fit 4mm, as will this one. And then we're also going to include the cap heads, and I won't put washers on it. So the cap heads are, is that one 4? Yeah, it's 4. 7. So 7.5. Sometimes Fusion thinks for a long time when you do something. It always worries me that my drawing's about to blow up. All right, 7.5. Okay, actually, wait, those should be 8. Those should just be 8. We should give it plenty of room for the bolts. Should they be the size of the washer, though? How big's the washer? Small washer. Because when you use the washer, it'll spread that force out over the larger area of the 3D print instead of trying to extrude your screw through stuff. So if I do the larger washer, that is a radius of 12. Geez, that's huge. But I think that's a better plan. Okay, finish that. I'm going to rewind time. There we go. Time is round. So now I want to go to this extrusion. Hold on, let me think about this. So if I took, and this might break some of the drawing if I do this. Don't extrude that and just roll with that. What happens? Well, it kind of was okay with it, but it also destroyed something. Oh, this one. Oh, well, I don't want that. Okay. So now we have this thing. And what can I do mid extrusions? I wonder if I can do that. I think so. Take this and go up through. Looks like I can. And actually that might be all that I do. I might leave the washers to be inside of that. And I'll just round the ends. Nope. Nope. Too far. Too far. Yeah, let's just do that 4. And then I'll do these 4x4. And I won't include the washers in that. This will just be. That's just to make it look pretty. Just make it look pretty. Yeah, that's it. That's going to be the thing that carries that part. I was wondering if I wanted to leave like a shoulder at the bottom of this, just to kind of hold on to that. But I don't know if I really need that. If this is enough of a, I mean, it is enough of a press fit. I might want to press it a little bit more, but we'll leave it the way it is for now and see if there's any super shortcomings in it, right? Really, you're talking still about the cycle hum being used as evidence in court. If push comes to shove, I might want to put a grub screw horizontally through that. And maybe I can just do that manually. I don't think it's not quite solid. There's like it's a little bit hollow at the size that it is. But all right, so that finishes that. Unview the sketch and let's see if it breaks anything else. It did not. There's one warning about the sketch location. Why? It didn't know what to anchor to because nothing has changed. Review warning. The project source is lost. Cache is used. Edge 1 missing. How do I redefine it then? Project cache. Yeah, see, here's the problem with editing the timeline is that you can kind of mess stuff up. And I don't know where that actually is looking. So how do I edit that? Which one is messed up? Because it looks like, it doesn't look like any of them are really bad. And I didn't reference anything but this stuff here. So I don't know why that would have messed up that sketch. And it's not letting me get the rest of my solids because of it. Or no, because we're editing the sketch. So which is the error? That's one thing I wish I could get a little bit more information on, because they do have the little warning dialogue down here, and it's telling me sketch 2 is an error. Project 2, 1 reference failure. Edge 1 is missing. So which one is that? Is that here? No. Yeah, I'm dragging things around to see if they move. But nothing is moving, so I don't know where edge 1... That is unconstrained, but it's fine. So the projected points should all be the same, so I don't understand where the break is. And it doesn't do a very good job of defining it. Of course, now it seems okay. No, review warning. Configure, what does that do? While you're in configuration mode, clicking highlighted objects in the browser, features and timeline configure, suspension, component inserts, visibility, physical material, appearance, blah, 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 and the parameters dialog. What? I don't understand any of this. D17, okay, I don't know what that stuff is. I'm closing this dialogue because it scares me. Yeah, I don't know what you want from me. Edge 1 is missing, but when I go into that sketch, it doesn't tell me which one is edge 1. Plus, none of this stuff has really... edge 1 maybe was going up to there? Unless this is part of it, or projecting in this stuff. I don't think I did that. I went up here from the rail, and then I hit whatever this piece was with a circle from this centerpiece based on the projection of this stuff, which is still there. None of that changed. None of that changed. Oh well, I guess if it's not hurting anything, then I'm just going to keep it where it is. It didn't blow up any of my drawing. So we still have our part and all of its features. One thing I'm not doing is putting anything to kind of like hold this in the center, but that wiggle room I think is fine on this in particular, because the strength I want it to have is on the Z-axis, not on X and Y centerability. And then this, like if this isn't tight, this can probably, the bearing could probably like do that. It could do that, and then it would be out of alignment. But I think the two of them combined will be a good thing. Oh, let's see if this is actually... Okay, those didn't blow up. Glad to hear. Let's export before that thing finishes. And then this will be our new thing. Oh, I see. It's because it's now body 4 that it messed it up. So it split this into 2 bodies, and then it said, oh, by the way, yeah, this is no longer... So actually, if I go back to this extrude, this is going to confuse the shit out of this thing, but... And I take away all of it there and just go, okay. Then it made 2 bodies. Back to the extrude. Take it away. Wait, where did it even get that body from? Oh, that was when I created the other facets of the part. Oh, cancel. Control Z. Control Z. Control Z. Actually, redo that one. Nope, don't redo that one. There. Okay, whatever. So I went in and I messed with the timeline and that blew up the part. I probably could have done these much later on and it would have been better. Untitled Goose. Hey, the goose is loose. Hey, Untitled Goose, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I hope you guys are learning stuff because I'm just playing around right now. And, you know, giving the most basic lessons on this stuff. The whole purpose of what we're building right now is to try to suspend the 2020 rail out over the z-axis and keep it parallel with the table. So it will need to resist a little bit of force when I lower and raise the pick and place. We're essentially mimicking a $5,000 pick and place machine that uses airlines, and we're hopefully going to use airlines too, but it has this wonderful part head that looks like this. Hold on, looks like that. And you hold on to this little handle and you have a wrist rest. And so you can move that thing in the X and the Y, and then you can move your fingers, you move your fingies in and out in order to do the fine positioning of the part. And then that handle, the handle right there spins, it twists, because there's a bearing at the top. It twists, and then it twists the end of the syringe. So with the vacuum line sucking your part onto the end of one of these little luer lock syringe pieces, you can twist the part and then lower it down into place. My projects are littered with warnings, and I just cross my fingers. I'm too much of an EE to not address everything all the time. If there's a warning, I have to address it. Getting into electronics was the worst decision of my life, especially for my bank account. These streams are really helpful. Oh, thank you. I have a particular way of doing things, and I wouldn't say it's a very standard way, but it's a way that I've cultivated over decades doing this kind of stuff. And I kind of like where we've gotten to with this. Boy, it would be nice to have this in steel. I really need to do a CNC at some point, guys. I need that CNC machine. That's going to be like my dog's worst nightmare, though. All right, this one's the NPN test arm. The and place and this one's the PNP, the pick in place test arm. Inspired by the Valve logo. For no reason. For no reason. I don't think the Valve logo is particularly strong. Maybe back when we were forging parts out of iron, that's the reason that they chose to have kind of that taper on the thing. Probably just to make it look good, though. Save as mesh. Save as smesh. That's right. I want to smesh. Uh-oh. Are we smeshed? I'm smeshing. Everything's fine. Oh yeah, everything is fine. Okay. I gotta memorize where those scene buttons are so I can do snappier scene transitions. That's part of the skill of streaming. Okay, so that's gonna be in Temperints, and then I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna drag it all the way over to. Oh my God, Discord's behind another window. Hold on. All right, so that I can print a bunch of these. How many of those do I need? 4, and then I'll need 1 more of the little end pieces. So far, so good, though. We didn't need to alter really anything on the end piece. We'll see in a bit once these parts cool off. We can get this back together and see how it do. I mean, like if I really wanted to make this complicated, so complicated, I could. No, because I don't want anything to be up in this space, because this is going to have. It needs that clearance. Although I could take the position difference and blow that out and have just a little bit of a lip around here, and then it would cover over the metal. But I don't really need to do that. That would be like the fancy step, and the problem with doing that is that I need to clearance this so that it doesn't go. I need this to just freewheel. Yeah, and plus this side is completely exposed, so it's fine. What a weird little system that I've come up with here, huh? I think it'll work out pretty nicely, though. This is going to be shorter. It'll be like to there, I think. CNCs are great, though. I hate the initial run, but man, are they lovely. I know, it'd be so nice. It would be so nice to have one. Willow would definitely hate it because it would be very loud, very loud and very messy. You can attach all kinds of vacuums to your CNC, but it's still going to be a complete disaster mess. But it would be wonderful to have, because then I could make these parts out of aluminum, and then I would have to have I need so much space, you guys. I need way more space than this room, because I could have a setup where I've got my anodizing setup next to near the CNC setup, near the ultrasonic cleaner, near the resin printer, all that nonsense that needs kind of its own chemical area that's sort of cordoned off. And then we could make a box. We'd use the 2020 rail to make a box around the CNC so that all the chips stay in there. Yeah, I wish I would have a lot of fun with that. All right, those parts are cooling. Let's pull up Octoprint so I know. So with my printer, the sensor for the bed is below an FR4 sheet. So the original heater was on there, and that's an FR4 sheet. And then there's a 120 volt print bed heating element below that. And then I've got a bunch of insulation below that. So on my printer, my reported temps are probably a lot lower than what is actually dialed into the machine. So you're gonna see it's 95C for the bed. It's probably not 95C. But with the way that the Hymeria hot end is, and with the way that the print bed is, when these two cross, it's at a point where I can try to remove the part. When they cross a second time, the part will pop off. A little bit after that. I mean, it's got to really go all the way down to like ambient temperature. It really makes me want to fool around with water cooling a print bed. I think that would be supremely funny. Everybody says, no, don't do it, don't do it. They have water cooled hot ends. So the heat break is water. I think it would be utterly fascinating to have like a valve setup that would open up, and then you would circulate, because you'd be circulating through like a big radiator, right? With a bunch of water for your hot end. Maybe you could cool your motors. You'd probably be heating your motors though, to be honest. But then when the print's done, you would divert the water to then go through the bed. Actually, the problem would be, well, okay, so the bed temperature, is that above boiling? Water boiling. Let's see. Why do I have to look this up? I'm so stupid. 69? Oh, at sea level, it's 100. Well, my print bed is at 95, so maybe that's a bad idea, because the water would expand and then it would blow up. Yeah, I've got a 200 millimeter fan that I could just put below the print bed and have that turn on. You're fine, enough speed. It would be, I think it would be hilarious, because then you could, if you're printing in something like PETG, you could put the print at the printer, you could put the whole printer at 45 degrees, like a 45-degree angle, so that when you actively cool your bed, eventually your parts pop off and just fall. You could just make them fall into a milk crate. I forgot about Octoprint. I haven't touched that in years. I got everything to work, and it's this giant house of cards, and I don't want to touch it. Everybody switched to mainsail like 4 years ago, but I didn't touch it. It works. I use it. Some people still use it. Although it's telling me I need to upgrade my Python, because even the version of Python is like well obsolete at this point. I don't understand how you people operate, where you guys like update all your stuff all the time and you use the latest and greatest of everything. Like, how often are you ripping all the bolts out of everything? I really don't want to warp these. Okay, they're good. They're good to go. All right, and now I'm going to print the arms. I don't think those will be done in time though, because I got to print 4 of them. So we'll test this for now, and I'm gonna print those little shortened arms. I gotta do it over at this computer, sorry. I've gotta fix the super slicer on my other machine, because I would rather do this stuff with you guys watching than doing this behind closed doors. I don't want to move a camera over to this machine. Set number of instances. This is all old stuff too. I mean, I'm using Super Slicer, which was depreciated for a little while, and Clipper, Are people still using Clipper? Do they still dance? Do they still eat ice cream on the outside world? I've been inside for so long. Slice. Okay, so that's ready for the big print of these 4 things. 4 of them, yeah, I think 4 of them creates enough of an arm that we can use. So upload and print. And then I'm gonna have a piece of 2020 rail that just connects to the wrist rest carriage of the rest of the thing. I've got to be careful where I print because there's so much bed material that's been ripped up. The worst was when you had to upgrade the Raspberry Pi. That's when things tended to break. I've had a really good time with Clipper. The cool thing with Clipper is that everything's in just one big settings file. And so once I got that to work, I really haven't wanted to touch it at all. But I think at some point I should probably go to mainsail because I've got a, what is it, a CAN bus hot end. And the CAN bus hot end has its own accelerometer. I need to attach an accelerometer to the bed, and then I can use things like, you know, the advanced mainsail and a better slicer and really kind of dial in all of my prints. I do not have a fan. The current, you see this the blue stuff that's in the corner of the bed there? That is sitting on top of the controller. We redid the controller and it's beautiful. Having Clipper is the reason it's easy to move from Octopi to mainsail. I see. So I just take that file and squirrel it away in a safe place, and then I can just flip over to mainsail. So I'll have to do that at some point. But what I would like to do is finish designing the 3-phase motor blower, because that motor down there is a Philips CPAP motor, and that uses a 3-phase motor in it. And with what Short Lurker taught me last night, which I should have paid attention to originally, but apparently in that whatever controller that is that I have, that's got the the STM32F20, whatever, that really nice microcontroller, you can turn on sine wave, like something or other, manipulation of the waveform, and it'll make a quiet, like drone motor out of it. So if I have that 3-phase CPAP motor with the quietness enabled, because there's no sensors on that motor, there really should be, but there's not. You get the low speed performance from the sine wave stuff, and it doesn't like crank the motor over. You don't hear that grinding that you get from drone motors. Then we can have a totally silent fan on the thing that's able to produce, well, just about enough capacity of air to inflate my lungs, but it will be able to, you know, cool the print on moves. All I need to find is something that bolts to the Hymeria system, and those are easy to find. Those are all over the place. And Hymeria has a nice, easy to bolt to front on it. So I'll have to get rid of my super fancy Oh Bother logo plate. I'll be sad to see that go because that was a multicolor PETG print. I was proud of that one. I liked that. We designed this in Fusion 360. It does look kind of bad, but whatever. This is one of the ones that didn't. This is not the one on the printer. This is one of the other ones. I did a three filament change print to make it, but I'll have to give that up because what Hymeria has are these 4 bolts that are in little bolt captures, and so those can mount like a fan, like a blower system to it, something that'll like cup balls, you know. One day I'll figure that out. Maybe that's the day I'll move to mainsail. Oh, what was this doing over there? I guess I could have shown this off earlier. I could have said, yeah, it's meant to take rollers like this. Oh, I didn't even know I had a roller sitting on a magnet over there. Huh. This is like right over here. Oh, and that's something else I need to make for the modular synthesizer. We need to hook this thing up to a microcontroller. This is a little chaos kind of pad. What this thing is the actual driver behind. If you guys ever see a picture of Hans Zimmer's studio, there's this piano that looks kind of like a mouse pad, and that's this stuff. What this is if you scan through the rows and the columns of this thing, basically in between each row and column, you have a resistor that's force sensitive. That doesn't mean it has midichlorians. What it means is that the harder you press on it, the less resistance comes through. And so you've got all of these locations where you can push down and create different dynamic resistances. out of the different locations of this thing. So it's an interesting way to sense if somebody's really like tapping their ass off or just lightly tapping in an XY. And so if I put just like a mouse pad material over top of this, I can have something, and probably not on a modular synthesizer because that seems a little big, right? But I could have some kind of a pad that I could hook up to my modular setup and do cool stuff with. But that's what this sits in a special spot because it's a special thing that I got. I don't know if the place that I got them from still does the samples. This is who is this? Who is this doing this? Emphatic type alpha beta psychedelic funkin'. Jack. What the fuck? Jack? From 1107. I think it's 2011, but still. So wait, reverse that around. Jack. Yeah, I guess that's Jack. Weird. Tangio. I don't know if I don't think they're selling these anymore, but this is just like a little sample of it, which is it's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to use it for something soon. All right, so we're doing good. We're doing the outside skirt. I didn't look to see how long this would take, but it'll probably take too long. So let's just see how these things are over here. Yeah. I put them on the other desk and then I didn't bring them over. Hold on, let me go get them. Stupid. I'm working on it. I'm trying. I'm doing better every day, chat. Maybe someday I won't be a dumbass. Okay. Let's do moss. One goes like this. And then that's a little tiny bit below. It's imperceivable. These turned out pretty good though. And they are just like little adapters. I didn't want to like make this one part because it would print all weird on the printer. Because my printer doesn't like horizontal objects. So now these bolts don't need to be so long. They don't need to be very long to give me that little tiny bit. Although they do need to be, actually they do. They need to get all the way down to that other piece of plastic. So through the washer, all the way down to the other piece of plastic. Okay, where's that? Where that? Who that? Come on. Okay, where hole? Where is it? These are kind of hard to fit in the first place. Yeah, this part's the annoying part. Perhaps I should loosen these so that this can move around. Or maybe I could just do it this way. Oh, there's part of the problem is that it's trying to grip too much. What's going on? Come on. Oh. Huh. So the bottom layer has some oddity to it. And so it's gripping this piece enough that I can't get it to start going into the hole. Throwing stock reality goobery with Orca just works. Huh. Todd Howard. Yeah, so that's gripping just a little. I did want it to be a tight interface, but I think at the length of the bolt, it's all working together to make it a little bit more grippy than I had wanted. And then when it starts gripping, it doesn't spin properly to get me into there. There we go. That loosens it up a little bit. Jeez, yeah, that is an interface. Whew. So coming from above the washer. Where'd it go? Uh-oh. Just lost it. I lost it. It's somewhere on the desk. Where did it go? This is a new one. I could maybe take a ream and open that up a little bit, or just the knife. Just knife it a little. Jeez. Yeah, that's okay. So at this length of bolt, there's enough interference fit from the variances of the layer that this is gripping a lot. And then when it grips a lot, it doesn't allow enough threads to get into here to start really gripping it, so it just slips. That's an unexpected problem. I'm gonna fix it in post. What's my glucose level doing? What is this thing is probably overcompensating because I had a small lunch. Where's my frameless frame? Burn the subs. There it is. No, it's actually completely normal, and I need to ignore the feelings that I'm getting that I'm low. Oh, that's interesting. That's a weird place to be. Happens, though. So putting that all the way through, I've only got a couple threads in there. And, well, that is about as many threads as I'm going to get. I might want it to be a little longer. This is just a test anyway. Yeah, that's not going to grip very hard, but that's pretty good. And then this one, I probably need to do the same thing with. These bolt holes on this thing aren't going to line up anyway, so the things that I'm printing out right now are probably going to be necessary in order to put this whole thing together. We'll catch 22 there. Use the test to take the test. Yeah, that is an unfortunate thing. I did not know that. I would have gapped these a little larger. Well, those were the quickest of the prints, so. I could probably just reprint them real quick. Because yeah, that's going to be a little wobbly because it's not going to put proper pressure on all the layers of the stuff that's going on. So these will, yeah, they jiggle just a little bit because I can't get them to really press down because there's more grip on the outside wall of my little like washerette. So anyway, I can put this together and just get a test out of it though. See if this will deal with the amounts of force that we need it to deal with. That little backwards maneuver that I do is to kind of prime it, and then I flick it forward until it grips to get it to twist that 90-degree angle. And see, that one failed. That one's just sitting in the trough. That one's not doing anything. That's the problem with this particular hardware. The good ones to get are the ones that you tilt in order to get into the trough, into the extrusion. So you got to get it to go all the way down like that, and see, then it turns. That's hard to see, and if you could see the shadows, you would see it turning in there. But now that is properly gripped in with its grippers. Oh, that's a new one. So that is, yeah, okay, that is the gap. You can see that little gap there. So if I tighten that down, what happens? Yeah, it's not going to let me tighten it down anymore. Why is that? Huh. So these should be able to tighten down enough that they are putting pressure on this bottom piece, but that's not what's happening right now. So I don't know if I have any fixes for that. See, that seems totally loose, but it's just not. I just don't have enough threads inside of the thing to do it. But if we have this as our interface, it seems like it'll be pretty light in its movement, and hopefully strong enough to resist a decent amount of less detail, a decent amount of force going down on the z-axis. This isn't going to hold it very much. Yeah, that's not totally great. Yeah, see that I'm going to have to dial out in the prints. That's unacceptable. We've gone all the way to the length of using skateboard bearings for the very purpose of eliminating this kind of slop, and I have been unable to eliminate the slop. I will revisit some of these prints and maybe get my my gaps a little better on it, because it's crazy what's happening with this. Maybe, just maybe, this piece could either use an insert or a bolt below it so that I can have enough pressure to really kind of wrench this down, because this bolt right here is why it's wobbling. That's why it's wobbling. It should not wobble and wobble. So I'm gonna have to do that. In the meantime, I'm gonna print all this stuff. It's going swimmingly. These should print pretty well. They're on the good part of the printer. And then I'll just need to kind of do a little bit of iterative design. So Fusion 360 allows for iterative design of your solids. That's the lesson today. So let's go back to where I make this gap. So if I click on that feature, it actually, these two steps, you can see they're little sort of anime blush marks that appear above it. This is where I made this part. So that feature comes in from these two. Although, to be fair, just going to the sketch is where I can actually do the gap a little bit better. So instead of 4, we're going to make that 4.2. And I will pencil that in for another iteration. Okay, finish the sketch, finish this off, Control S. What am I on next? There's a possibility that I go on tomorrow, although I don't know. I don't really know what we would be working on, other than discovering that I have about 1/3 of the fittings that I would need to put this thing together. That's the only problem with a project that uses airlines, is that I don't know what airline I'm going to need to order in order to put this whole system together. I have some press fit stuff, so maybe there's a kit that I could buy that would have a lot of stuff like that. So I'm actually going to pencil in Tuesday for our next stream, although I would like to get on a little earlier than that, but I think we're just going to have to wait until the 23rd. And then the day after that, Undertale's out, so... 3D print them have worked surprisingly well. The air fittings 3D printed, I mean, I've got, PETG is actually pretty good, but I don't know how I can get, I struggled to get a water seal on my 3D print stuff. And I think maybe if I up the extrusion amount, that might do it, but it would be fascinating to do some stuff like that, like printing manifolds and things. Because, yeah, you never have all of the air fittings that you think you need. I'm probably going to end up buying another one of these airbrush kits just so I can get the second needle valve. Although, if I could find a panel mount needle valve, because a panel mount needle valve would allow me to put it on, a front panel of a device. I run my airbrush through 3D printed fittings. They do leak a tiny bit. We can't have this leaking for the pick and place. I mean, maybe I could, because I am just running airbrush stuff. Man, I want to airbrush stuff. I have a decent Japanese airbrush. It's what Reddit said was the most middling one. And I really have been itching to paint something. I should just get to it. But then I want to put like an LED inside of it. Because if I paint this, it'll be a whole lot easier to see what it is. And then if I leave the eyes open, I could put an LED somewhere in here. Probably be a green LED, because then you could have a little green glow coming from the Fusion core. Anyway, this is my test for the 3D printer. I bought one of those Goop 3D printers, and it was like previous generation's flagship, and we repaired it. I bought it broken. You're supposed to buy 2 of them broken and use the parts to make one that isn't. And it turns out the connection to the UV bulb was just a little funky, and we just We just like screwed it in and it worked perfectly. And then I printed this just to see what level of detail it would have. And I was like shocked. What's up, Okie dokie? But yeah, I've been meaning to like get to airbrushing things. I don't know if I should airbrush this. I keep this at the desk just as a reminder of the detail level that you get out of the resin printing. It's kind of insane. Kind of insane. You guys can't really see the details really well unless I put it on. Like the difference between resin and FDM is kind of crazy. Although this probably is a bad example. I should probably print this in the shaded detail level. This would be good for a tabletop game. But I'm not a pervert, so I don't really use the resin printer a lot. I do have a hardware-related question. Yeah, let's do that before I skedaddle. I know, like, but there's like 4 jobs for the resin printer. One of them is to print out perverted little statuettes that you go, oh. And what is the other job? I mean, you can print really, really accurate stuff, but it's gonna break. This stuff is not strong. It like you can get strong resins, but I don't want permanent chemicals in my face because I've tasted 3D printer resin before. That's how bad I am at dealing with it. And yet I do gloves, I do baskets and alcohol and sonic cleaning and all that stuff. It still gets everywhere. Could you advise on what I should do? The question is whether or not I should. Those electrical forums, the electrical like EE kind of forums, don't answer questions about mains voltage for that reason. So yeah, I could probably give you advice, but with a big caveat. Just ask. Go ahead and ask. And if it's computers, I don't know computers. I don't know computers. I don't know computers, man. I jump into the realm of computer hardware for like 10 minutes and I go, that's the good stuff. All right, I'm gonna get that. I'll see you in 7 years. And then I'm gone, right? That's how I deal with computers. I'm more interested in getting old systems running with Linux. I woke up to my phone having a pink line down the right side, slightly off from the middle, and the manufacturer it's a known issue. I'm assuming it's a grounding pin poking into the back of the screen. You can never know. With some LCD TVs, there were errors where the surrounding LEDs had like metal brackets and those would contact the ground in some places. I know phone screens, they're like, are they LED? Well, they're LEDs, yes, but are they OLEDs or are they have an LED backlight? A pink line down it could mean the flat cable that brings the signal to the LCDs peeling a little bit. I don't know. Could it get worse with pressure? If the temp goes away, mine is OLED. I don't know what to do with OLEDs. I don't know if you can, with LCDs, sometimes if you got like a dead pixel, you would be able to run it through some dead pixel cycling. There are websites that have that stuff and it runs particular colors in order to get the pixel to heat up. And when it heats up the pixel, that does something with the LCD substrate and gets it to work again. I don't know OLEDs though well enough to advise on that. And a line down the thing makes me think that it's, a row and a column issue. So is it a hardware thing pressing on the edges? I mean, my own cell phone concerns are similar. This thing is my insulin pump and I've allowed it to get this bad. I should probably buy a new phone. This is a Pixel 6. I like the Pixel 6, but this is insane that my phone is fine. I was going to take just the glass outer layer and replace it, but it requires some UV epoxies that, yeah, I don't know, man. Electronics are cheap. Yeah, fortunately, things like electronics parts coming from overseas are nice and cheap. What's up, RYG? We're just kind of hanging out now because we're in sort of a post-design fugue state where we don't have much to do except iterate on our designs. This is generally where I would go and watch other people's streams. I would go and watch other people's streams while the print is happening. Let this thing pan out. Just throw on somebody else's stream. That's something that's not too crazy and not too loud. Sometimes there's a lot of screaming. People think loud noise equals funny. But this is going to work really well. Like, these skateboard bearings are super smooth, and that's why I want to use them. They're big and smooth. And so this is just kind of floating out there on its own, right? And if we get that parallel enough, and I get rid of this little bit of slop that we introduced with our own little spacer deals, then this will be a nice, smooth flowing arm that I can press down on enough to lower, like a spring mechanism kind of thing. I mean, if you guys want me to share the solids, I will share the solids. The only caveat on that is that I don't host things on GitHub because I'm super lazy. If somebody wanted to take, I don't think anybody should take over my GitHub page. That's more like a YouTuber thing. If I was super popular, maybe I'd have somebody manage the bother GitHub. If you want these files, hop in the Discord and ask, and I will gladly provide you with them in any format you want. Because nobody's ever asked. No, it's not computerized. This is not an automatic pick and place. This is a manual pick and place. The whole purpose behind a manual pick and place is that it's easy to use, and it just basically keeps you parallel to the work surface and allows you to grab things and place them without all of the hands shaking and the part rotating and stuff like that. And so that's what we're trying to build, and we're basing it off of a $5,000 system that I've used previously. If you're in industry, just buy this thing. It's $5,000. It's nothing. But it's $5,000 is a huge, enormous amount of money for me. My stream, if you can't tell, is not popular. So I don't have resources. I could probably build this thing via send cut send in about 20 minutes. But again, like we just don't have the money here. So we're making it out of spare 3D printer parts, skateboard bearings, and pieces of the screws that I found in the couch cushions, right? How's Willow? She's doing great. She's had a kind of a quiet day. She manically dragged me to the front of the neighborhood, which is up a huge hill. So we've already done all of our exercise. That's part of why I'm like out of it, is that my muscles are tired. I've gotten a good amount of exercise today. It is just ass crack out right now. That's the weather. That's what it says. If you go to like if you go to like NBC10.com, my local NBC affiliate, they will officially just say, what's the weather? And it just says ASS in big letters, and it's underlined. That's just what it is. It's that kind of like Washington, D.C. swamp ass kind of. The sun is like right here, and it's just completely stifling. Even though it's only 80 degrees, you can't breathe out there. So she does not like this weather. I do not like this weather. We're both miserable. But other than that, we're doing good. We're fine. It's yeah, we're probably gonna go out there and play a little bit and touch Grassington, and then I'll probably drink a giant glass of cold seltzer. All right, so that said, I don't really have anything else. The remaining steps I've already done in CAD. I've widened the hole that needs to be widened so that we can actually squish this thing together. I'm debating about whether or not I want to build other features into it, like into the side, because those will be relatively accurate as long as I stay true to sort of the from the bed philosophy. I don't want to incorporate these pins into the body of the thing, because that would mean that they'll print over nothing, and it needs support. And if it needs support, it's going to be horribly distorted. And since we're dealing with the inner race of a bearing on this thing, I don't want it to be horribly distorted. I'll make it out of multiple parts in order to avoid that. I just need to make sure that I'm putting the right amount of pressure into that joint so that it's held solid with all the layers of stuff. And right now I'm not getting that because it's this thing. This piece is preventing the bolt from spinning. And with the bolt prevented from spinning, the threads are moving statically over the plastic and machining it. So they're stripping their threads, not being able to spin. So I'm going to correct some of that. I may take this solid and put a cut on the inside here that will support holding a bolt against this. So it'll just be like a flat cut that goes straight down into this and has like a tapered inside so that a bolt can be suspended in there. That would be one way to get around this, but I don't want to have to do that. Yeah, building yourself is cooler. Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, like, Julian's been at me to have a filter, and I've been at me to get that shot of my good microscope with the hot plate soldering a whole circuit board at once. I really want to get that shot. I don't know which camera is going to get me the best. This camera might be the best one for that because I can put it at a 45-degree angle and it'll show the whole circuit board and it'll show all the solder flowing over. And then somebody, if they feel the spirit move them, could post it to Reddit and see if it gets to the front page, because that would be very, very cool. Because I see that on the front page of Reddit constantly, and it drives me absolutely fucking bonkers. What kind of fitting is this, chat? What is this fitting? Oh, this one actually is a fitting. Never mind. I thought that was smooth on the inside, but it's not. So I think this is that lure lock fitting that we were looking at, and this is an adapter to that. It has that weird kind of thread on the inside. Unless it's these guys. No, it's not these guys. Oh, maybe it is. Is that this? Have you been? I haven't been on in a while. I've been good. My health is insane now. I just got back from the endo yesterday. No, Friday. No, that's today. That wasn't last Friday, was it? Anyway, I saw the endo recently, and my bill of health was incredibly good. The AAPS system has been running my diabetes perfectly. It's kind of insane, actually, what it's been doing for me. So that has been wonderful. I should, by all means, be losing weight, but I'm not, which means I'm probably cheating a little bit, and I feel like that's kind of wasteful given the drugs that I'm on. So I am looking to fixing that next. But for now, the A1C was brilliant. I'll have to look at what the number was, because he was like genuinely pleased with the numbers. A nozzle of some sort. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was smooth on the inside. I just saw that it actually does have threads. So it fits to whatever the hell airline this thing is. This little tiny, really quite small threaded thing. I don't know what that is. But this is like an airbrush adapter kit is where I got all these crazy fittings. Which, I mean, it's a good amount of fittings for 14 bucks. I got all of them. I didn't get this is a Venturi vent, and this is what's going to allow us to pick up parts on the end of this arm. So the end of this arm will be free floating. There will be one more section on it, and so that'll be free floating, and when you press down on it, this cannot move. That's the important part. Right now, it's full of slop. I never said I was a good engineer. I just run a show, right? Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm trying to get through building a filter and having that extra capability, and then I need to learn how to use a Roland MC505 that we just fixed up with my modular synth, and maybe we can make some cool tunes for stream. And eventually get back to burn the subs so that I can have some fanfare. But if I want to get the GIF of the stuff flowing over. I want that, and the pick and place machine will help me get there. You can't call yourself Discount Engineer. That's another streamer. Damn. Where do they get off? Now I have beef. If you've got beef, I've got vegetables. So if you want it, you can leave here with a full stomach. Who is that? That's Atmosphere, I think. I don't know. That might not be Atmosphere. It's one of these rappers. Burn the subs is such a cool idea. It's one of those things that I came up with randomly while sitting in this very spot, and it was a quick idea. I said, well, maybe I could, instead of writing names on a whiteboard, I could just burn them onto a piece of wood with a laser. I said, well, I've got blue lasers, and I've got XY hardware. Wait a minute. So we put the whole thing together with this completely Chinesium, I don't know, maybe not call it that, but it was this Chinese engraver controller board that was so obsolete we couldn't find any information on it at all. It was just completely obsolete. So we used that and we put it together. We made Burn the Subs and made waves around Twitch for a little bit. It didn't really get into the higher channels though. It's too bad. It would be nice to if Charlie heard of the board. But it was based on, what's his name? It wasn't XQC, it was that other guy, the stubby, strong guy. He raided into an engineer's stream that had this banana that would go back and forth, and then whatever chat would appear on a screen, and it was totally unfiltered, and it ended up being quite the racist banana. And it got the channel banned for a week, but it propelled his numbers to make him viable. And I went, man, I could do that. so we did Twitch names, which have this particular flavor of unfiltered to them, whereas they should be filtered. Twitch is a naughty boy. They didn't really do the amount of filtering that you would think. And so those names got so creative. And I've still got 2 boards that have all the names on it. Did any merchandise pop up? No. A large mouse pad. I don't know what that would look like, but we do have the vectors for everything. That's all in the databases. So if push comes to shove, if ever I need to create merch for the previous 2 boards, I could basically make mouse pads, but I think I'd probably sell 5. I think I'd sell 5. 5 of each. But there are people who are curious about that, and I probably owe it to them to do something, a big sticker to put on your car. I don't know. Coming into Santa's beard. Why is that on your car? Some of them are too toxic. The names, they're horrible. But that was the art of the board, was that these were like completely toxic names. All right, that's not going to finish anytime soon. I could sit here and reminisce forever, but I'm gonna end the stream. Let's see if we can throw you guys at another streamer to say, hey, look at me, I'm popular. I just open up Twitch TV, and I look, and I see names. Names are popping up. Tomato, Strippin, Robaz, Jamart, Riff Tracks. Paleontologizing is on, although I don't want to just always raid into paleontologizing. I'm usually looking for, like, there's a couple knowledge fellowship streams that I followed recently. One of them is space related, but it doesn't look like they're there. Yeah, thank you for joining me, everybody. I really appreciate it. A lot of YouTubers chatting right now. Apparently, YouTube has a bit more traction this late in the afternoon. What are my analytics saying? Holy shit, 5. That's a crazy amount for YouTube. I don't know what it is about YouTube. It's like everybody says YouTube is where you build your audience, and only live streaming and not doing edited videos is just, there's nothing there unless you've got incredible content. Maybe I could dive into tags on YouTube's, like the tags for the stream. That maybe is something that I need to do, but anyway, maybe next time when you do burn the subs, it'll be for people subbed for 3 months, 6 months. That way you won't get so many derogatory names. No, I don't think you understand. The whole purpose of burn the subs was those names. The regular subs going on there is a bonus, but I wanted to cultivate all of the horrible names that people come up with on Twitch because it's funny and it's not my fault. It's not my fault. People can search up these awful, terrible names and get them burnt onto a piece of wood permanently, and it's fucking hilarious. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. YouTube also doesn't like when I curse. All you need is a shark to mount them on. I have plenty of sharks. I'm made of sharks. What are you talking about? You mean great names? I know, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. What people come up with in order to be crass on the internet should be studied. All right. You know, making that bottom piece of the washer larger might actually benefit because it'll keep it from wobbling. I got to think about that. I've got some iteration to go through, aka screw ups. But I will be back at the latest on Tuesday. I'll see about tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. I'm probably going to be in a house full of people, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Handle awards, that would be hilarious. Yeah, we'll figure it all out. We'll figure it all out later.